Chapter 799. The people outside, listen up. Feng Bujue used his meaty voice to shout that was as loud as a loudspeaker. Do not act rashly. Otherwise, I'll kill him. As he said this, he pulled another figure to his side and pressed the kitchen knife against the latter's neck. It was none other than Xiongji. What's going on now? Inyanosuk frowned as he looked at the window on the second floor with a pair of binoculars. I don't know. Tu Mei looked up with her sharp eyes and said, but, I'm guessing, this might be Mao Taro's trick. She guessed right, this was Feng Bujue's trick. But, even if they knew it was a trick, the police couldn't act rashly. Hey! You guys in front of the door, if you dare to take another step forward, I'll chop off this stinky bear's head. Brother Ju put on a ferocious look and continued his performance. You're threatening us with the life of your partner? Tu Mei put the loudspeaker in front of her mouth again and shouted at Brother Ju, Do you think this will work? Who told you he's my partner? Feng Bujue asked with a grin. As soon as he said this, Tu Mei and Inyanosuk's expressions changed. He was just tricked by me to come here, Brother Ju said as he took off the eye mask on Xiongji's face. When he met up with Brother Ju, he was wearing a white eye mask that looked like a Zorro mask, so his real identity hadn't been exposed yet. Xiongji-kun. Seeing this, Tu Mei sneered. I knew it. I already guessed it. The identity of the strange bandit bears _I is you. Xiongji-kun. Xiongji had been standing beside Brother Ju in a panic since the beginning and hadn't said a word. When he heard Tu Mei's words, his face turned pale and he was speechless. Ha 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 ha. It was Feng Bujue who guffawed after hearing that. And who told you that? He is the bandit bears _I. What? What? These three similar sentences came from Tu Mei, Inyanosuk, and Wang Tanji respectively. Even Xiao Tan was shocked by what he said. That was enough to prove that Brother Ju's words were beyond anyone's imagination. Humph, you guys are really naive. Feng Bujue laughed. Are the three cat eyes sisters cats? Is Etsun Ryoma a horse? Is Brother Snow Rabbit a rabbit? His fallacious reasoning began again. Who said that bear's _I's true form must be a bear? It's here. Xiao Tan, who was standing behind Brother Ju in the corridor, leaned back and complained with a serious face. This kind of verbal attack is obviously nonsense, but it's impossible to refute in a short period of time. Verbal attack. Logic rape. Don't talk nonsense. A few seconds later, Tu Mei, who was on the street, reacted and shouted into the loudspeaker, If he's not the strange bandit bears _I, then why is he wearing the same costume as bears _I in the cartoon Detective Tadpole Man? Because. Feng Bujue replied loudly, He's a stupid beep. At that moment the world was quiet. After a full 20 seconds, Inyanosuk pointed up and looked at Brother Ju. So, the strange bandit bears _I is you, Mao Taro. Hey! Xiao Tan, who was standing not far behind Brother Ju and Xiongji, was shocked. He was convinced just like that? Ha 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 ha. Feng Bujue was proud. That's right. I'm the strange bandit bears _I. I like underwear the most. Ha 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 ha. As he spoke, he pulled out a pair of underwear from Xiongji's pocket and put it on his cat's head. Okay. I was wrong about you. At that moment, Wang Tanji looked at Brother Ju in a different way. Feng Bujue's back suddenly became taller in his eyes. In order to complete the task of the 33 chapters, you're willing to go to such lengths. These lines and actions can no longer be described with the word fight. For the protagonist to do what you did, it's really worthy of respect, admiration, amazement, and admiration. The male protagonist of the novel was not just a vehicle for the readers to fantasize about. Their task should not be to rob, kill, amass wealth, take revenge on the rich and powerful, and pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. Moreover, there was no need for them to give all these actions some flimsy and self-deceiving reasons, so that they could be carried out smoothly and without reproach. Greed was greed, ruthlessness was ruthlessness, lust was lust, and despicable was despicable. There was no need to hide, there was no need to flatter, there was no need to call a deer a horse, and there was no need for the author to clean up the ground. Just do what you want, write a chapter, and let people judge whether it's right or wrong. In the end, in everyone's heart, there would be a unique image of the protagonist. The man who carried the whole story, firmly took on the core of the narrative, and was remembered by people, was worthy of the title protagonist. Ha 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 ha. On the other side, Feng Bujue did not have time to respond to Xiao Tan's ridicule. He nonchalantly put the underwear on his head and shouted out the window, "Xiongji is just a pawn that I lured here. You can say that he's an accomplice, but, in my opinion, he's just a gentleman who was played by the underwear." Is this the verbal escapade, impromptu lie? Xiao Tan heard this and said, "Can others really understand such a specious explanation?" At the same time, under the instruction of Brother Ju, Xiongji shouted out the window, "Ah! Help! Don't do anything stupid!" Inyanosuk panicked. "Let's talk nicely, don't kill the hostages." "Humph! Are you scared now?" Feng Bujue replied arrogantly, "Cut the crap, get me a helicopter with a full tank of fuel, the kind with a pilot. It must be here in 30 minutes. He paused and waved the knife in his hand. "Or, from the 31st minute onwards, I'll kill a hostage every 3 minutes. Oh no, Xiongji." "Hey, you only have one Xiongji," Xiao Tan said. "Even if you count me, it's only 2, right? You can kill them all in less than 35 minutes, right?" "I'm too familiar with this phrase, so I just said it." Feng Bujue turned around and said softly, "How many hostage-taking activities have you done?" Xiao Tan narrowed his eyes and replied, "Don't worry about the details." Feng Bujue lowered his voice and said to Xiao Tan and Xiongji, "Don't worry, I won't kill anyone. This will be over soon." Teacher. Xiongji was sweating profusely. "We're counting on you, you have to do your best." While they were talking, Inyanosuk and Miao Mei were also discussing something on the street. Soon, Inyanosuk shouted back, "Listen, Maotaro. This street is not wide enough to park a helicopter, and there's no helipad nearby. Can we change to another mode of transportation?" "Then what do you have?" Feng Bujue asked. "Police car," Inyanosuk replied. "Okay, then get a police car and a driver ready. We'll leave from the main entrance in 5 minutes, Feng Bujue said. "Okay," Inyanosuk said. After the two finished talking, Brother Ju turned around and said to his two companions, "Okay, it's done. What did you do?" Xiao Tan's mouth twitched. "Do you know how bad the agreement you just made with them was?" "Of course I know," Feng Bujue replied with a smile. "Oh, I did it on purpose." 5 minutes later, Maotaro, Sun Taro, and Xiongji got into a police car with a driver. After they got into the car, they found that the back seat door could not be opened. It was surrounded by bulletproof glass, and could not be broken with a kitchen knife. After the three of them sat down, the driver in the driver's seat silently drove the car all the way to the police station. Main mission progress changed. Xiongji's number of arrests is limited to 10. Current number of arrests: 3. Xiongji's hatred towards you plus 33%. Chapter 800. 3 days later, at the school. After a series of system announcements, it was time for the transfer. Feng Bujue and Wang Tanji, who were sitting in the police car a second ago, appeared in the classroom of Year 4 Class 1 of Animal Elementary School. "Ha! So, you have this trick up your sleeve." After sitting down, Xiao Tan was stunned for 2 seconds before he smiled at Feng Bujue. "That's right." Feng Bujue knew that Xiao Tan had understood his strategy, so he replied directly, "The point is, we can't let Xiongji be arrested as the strange bandit bears _I." He spread his hands. letting him be arrested as himself. Even though it will cause the main event to fail, it's better than failing the scenario. Wang Tongji nodded. So, you took on the title of Bears_I in front of the NPCs and led us into a trap. That way, the incident will be over and we will be safe. Yes, but Feng Bujue changed the topic. This way of completing the mission is actually quite bad. I just barely changed the situation from a scenario failure to a mission failure. In essence, what I did earlier was similar to surrendering in place of Xiongji. Then, you were judged as AFKing again? Xiao Tan asked. Not really. Brother Ju replied. Compared to the previous peeping incident, my action this time was quite technical. Plus, the main event itself has failed. Under these circumstances, the system will not judge me as AFKing. But in terms of Xiongji's hatred points, I was punished to a certain extent. I increased it quite a bit this time as well, 7%, Xiao Tan replied. Including the previous additions and subtractions, it is now 9%. Oh, Feng Bujue said calmly, compared to my 41%, that is still quite optimistic. What? How much did you say? Xiao Tan widened his eyes and asked with an incredulous expression. Don't be nervous. Brother Ju said, it's not even 50% yet. As the person involved, he was very calm. I was already mentally prepared for this. He explained leisurely, after being arrested, Xiongji will definitely lose the underwear that he stole. Part of the strong resentment will undoubtedly be transferred to me. Actually, I've always been very concerned about this. Xiao Tan continued. What will happen when this number is high? It's hard to say. Feng Bujue's eyes turned strange. He glanced at Xiongji and Tu Mei who were chatting on the other side of the classroom, and he said darkly, I have a feeling. This script, no, this universe, there is something wrong with it. The IQ and EQ of these NPCs do not seem to be as low as they appear to be. Take Xiongji as an example. Some of his actions and even his personality are contradictory. Yes, I wanted to say that as well. Wang Tongji added, the case that I disrupted earlier. If you think about it, it was very strange. Xiongji had the guts and courage to chop off Aiko the penguin's head. I think, Feng Bujue said thoughtfully, when Xiongji's resentment toward one of us reaches a certain level, these suspicious points will gradually show themselves. Meow, screams, meow meow screams. Incident, crime, Xiongji Kuan's crime. When the meow entered his ears and interrupted his thoughts, these were the two sentences that flashed in Feng Bujue's mind. Ah! Brother Ju groaned lazily. He looked at Xiao Tan and said, as usual, let's go and take a look. Okay. Xiao Tan shrugged and stood up with Brother Ju. In the next few hours, Tu Mei Chan's inference and Xiongji Kuan's self-exposure were still ongoing. The incidents happened one after another, and most of them were similar to the crime previews of Strange Bandit Bears_I. However, these incidents didn't take long to solve. For example, lost the front end of the flute, secretly taking photos of the skirt, stealing sports shorts, teacher's triangle missing, and so on. All of them were completed or active crimes. In the battle of wits with the famous detective Tu Mei-chan, Feng and Wang didn't have the absolute upper hand. Xiongji's self-exposure attribute was there, and the difficulty of the incident had changed from successfully disrupting before being taken to the police car to successfully disrupting before being exposed to obvious criminal evidence. It was inevitable that there would be some situations that were impossible to guard against. Even though the two players were working very hard, Xiongji's number of arrests still inevitably increased. Of course, in comparison, there were more cases of successfully getting off the hook. Just like this, unknowingly, Xiongji's number of arrests had accumulated to 9. Xiongji's resentment toward Feng Bujue and Wang Tongji had also reached 95% and 72% respectively. The next day, first class in the morning. After Brother Ju and Xiao Tan completed another round of disruption, they arrived at the next scenario. At this time, their mental and physical strength had already reached a very poor state. Phew! This scenario, how much gaming time has been spent on us already? Xiao Tan asked. I feel like it's been almost 72 hours already, right? Shorter than you think, Feng Bujue replied. Only 56 hours. Ah. This is also a long scenario. Suddenly, I feel like the blade duel at Chonglin is as relaxing as a holiday, Xiao Tan added. Yes, the fact that our stamina points won't recover as we move between scenarios is indeed a problem, Feng Bujue said. Furthermore, the main plot of this scenario requires us to maintain our concentration at a certain level, so the mental burden is not small. Even though he said that, there was no sign of tiredness or impatience on his face. Looks like, the biggest difficulty in the later stage of this scenario is endurance. Haha! He even chuckled for some reason. Initially, the two of us thought that Xiongji's limit of 10 apprehensions, including 10 apprehensions, was enough, but in the blink of an eye, there is only one chance left. This kind of situation where one is almost exhausted, one's nerves are tensed, and there is no room for failure, that is quite exciting. What are you talking about? Xiao Tan was really tired. When the human brain was tired or numb, it was easy for them to ramble, and it was normal for them to swear. If Xiongji is arrested 2 more times, all our previous efforts will be wasted. What is so exciting about this kind of huge pressure? When you were on the operating table, weren't you under this kind of pressure every second? Feng Bujue asked. Xiao Tan was really stumped by the question, but when he recovered, he said, Hey, the timing is different, okay? The duration of this scenario is already 5 times longer than a large surgery, okay? You can think of it as a high-intensity concentration training, Feng Bujue said in a relaxed tone. Furthermore, there is a break in this scenario, right? He titled his head. Ignoring the situation at the beginning of the scenario, after the difficulty of the main plot increases, after each transition, we will have a few minutes to catch our breath, right? Before he could finish his words, he heard, Everyone, please pay attention. Mr. Panda's voice came from the podium. In 2 seconds, the whole class's attention was drawn to her. Ha! Xiao Tan sighed and mumbled softly, Here we go again. What will it be this time? Has the teacher's underwear been stolen? He turned to glance at Xiongji. Let me confirm it first. Okay. He didn't wear it directly outside his clothes or on his head. The reason why he complained was because Xiongji had really done it before. Students, today, we have 2 special guests coming to our class. Mr. Panda continued. They will spend the day with you. 2. Xiao Tan's first reaction was, Don't tell me it's Banana Mulberry and Sing Liangjun? They are. Mr. Panda raised her hand to point at the door. She was about to say the names of the 2 when a figure flashed in from outside the door. He used a very feminine voice to cut in. Oh, class, how are you? Chapter 801. The man who jumped into the classroom looked to be in his 20s or 30s. He had strange short hair with a bun on top of his head. He wore a blue long-sleeved sportswear and his entire body exuded a strange aura. Not long after he entered the stage, another man who looked younger than him also entered the stage. The second person had rather refreshing brown short hair and wore a red sleeveless sportswear. Overall, he looked like a relatively normal person. Side mission has been triggered. The 2 people walked into the classroom, one after the other, and the system's voice sounded. Feng Bujue and Wang Tanji opened the mission panel and saw the instruction. Chase the prince and the girl out of school before the end of the morning class. Prince and the girl? Xiao Tan muttered after looking at the mission. Their full names are Prince Shengde and Little Sister Xiaoye. Feng Bujue saw the doubt on his face and explained. Brother Ju knew the 2. Even without the mission prompt, he knew the names of the two characters and other related settings. Xiao Tan was stunned. After all, he wasn't very familiar with Japanese literature. He only knew that another famous historical figure? Whether they are famous or not, and what their image in history is actually not important. Feng Bujue continued, don't forget, this is the Japanese literature universe. No matter how high the character's prototype is in the world of this funny comic, they will become funny. Xiao Tan muttered, and the figures of Banana Mulberry and Tsing Liangjun flashed through his mind. Yo-ho! At this moment, the person in the blue sportswear spoke again. Hello everyone, I am Prince Xingda. Today is school experience day. Because it was set by the imperial court, I couldn't refuse, so I brought the girl here to play with everyone. Oh no, to experience school life, it was obviously a rule that you added on a whim yesterday. The next second, the person in the red sportswear exposed the prince's nonsense. As you can see, this is what happened. Teacher Panda stood on the podium and continued, she's from the imperial court after all, so it's not easy to reject her. Students, please bear with her for a while. What's the matter with the imperial court? Xiao Tan muttered. Isn't the background and political system of this world a bit messy? It's fine as long as you know it's messy. Feng Bujue said, look at the crown prince's style, which is a combination of ancient and modern Chinese and Western styles. What's there to be confused about? Then, a few seconds later, Mr. Panda looked at Prince and the girl and said, please sit in the two empty seats at the back. Okay, Crown Prince replied to his teacher with his catchphrase, and walked down with happy steps. The girl shook her head helplessly and followed with a sigh. Okay. After they sat down, Mr. Panda said, students, please turn to page 22 of the textbook. We talked about it last time. The teacher began the lesson as usual. For the top students, the following content was clearly heard by them. For the bottom students, they could only hear the buzzing sound. Hey, student, what's your name? Feng Bujue was still thinking about how to complete the mission when Crown Prince took the initiative to talk to him. It was unknown whether it was a coincidence or the system's arrangement. Crown Prince and the girl's seats were on the right side of Feng Bujue and Xiongji respectively. Mao Taro Furong. Feng Bujue turned his head and looked at Crown Prince. Oh, it's Furong Kun, haha. Crown Prince smiled honestly. Hello, how old are you this year? It's none of your business, uncle. Feng Bujue replied with a very bad attitude. Uncle. Crown Prince's face twitched, and he lowered his head while trembling. His face fell into a haze and he muttered, Kids nowadays are getting less and less cute, also, uncle. Feng Bujue's ridicule had just begun. What's that strange smell on your body? You actually asked such a question in front of me. Crown Prince was shocked. What strange smell? It's your nose that has a problem. You don't want to admit it. Feng Bujue replied coldly, then turned his head and looked at the girl behind him. Hey, big brother over there, this uncle has a strange smell on his body, right? Of course, it always has. The girl held her chin with one hand and calmly replied, maybe it's because he's not wearing underwear. I see. Hearing that, Feng Bujue used his acting skills and conjured an extremely condescending and disdainful gaze as he turned to the Crown Prince. Ha. Crown Prince covered his face with both hands, shocked and annoyed. This kid. What's with that look? Damn it. Crown Prince, I told you to get rid of that habit long ago. Now even I'm embarrassing myself with you. The girl, who had betrayed her teammate, added insult to Crown Prince's back. Shut up. Girl, you're a bastard. Crown Prince replied unhappily. You clearly know that I hold the don't wear underwear if it's not necessary principle. It's because I know that I told you to change. That strange principle. The girl narrowed her eyes and continued. That. Before they could finish their words, The panda teacher had already turned around and said to them, "Crown Prince, although strictly speaking, you're not here to attend class, can you please not disturb the other students listening? You're speaking too loudly and the content is terrible." "You're blaming me?" Crown Prince replied, feeling wronged. "Big idiot." The girl timely stabbed him in the back again. The first class passed by quickly. As the bell rang, Crown Prince and Crown Prince, who had relaxed for a while, immediately tensed up again. The activation of the side mission did not mean that the main mission would be interrupted. Since Xiongji had been arrested 9 times, the 2 players could not afford to lose him. "How about this? You keep an eye on Xiongji, and I'll take care of Crown Prince." After class, Feng Bujue ran to Xiao Tan and whispered, "I'm familiar with their character settings. As long as we use Good Girl as a potential teammate, it shouldn't be difficult to force Crown Prince to leave." When he said this, he seemed to be a little worried, so he added, "If something happens to Xiongji that you can't handle alone, just give me a signal or call me, and I'll come over immediately." "Understood," Xiao Tan replied. "The main mission takes priority." Meow. The 2 of them had just exchanged a few words when Meow Mei's shriek rang out again. "All right, I have to go now." When Xiao Tan spoke, he turned his gaze toward the direction of the scream. "Good luck, I'll." Feng Bujue looked at Crown Prince and the girl. "It's time to move." After that, the 2 split up and went to their respective targets. I'm a little hungry, girl." Brother Bujue had just walked to Crown Prince and the girl when he heard Crown Prince say, "When is lunch?" "The first class just ended, so it's still a long time before lunch," the girl replied. "Huh." Crown Prince looked surprised. "But I'm so hungry." "Didn't you eat breakfast, Crown Prince?" "Crown Prince," the girl asked. "I was looking forward to school lunch, so I haven't eaten anything since yesterday afternoon," Crown Prince replied. "But," Feng Bujue interrupted, "our school doesn't provide lunch. The students bring their own lunch." "What the hell?" Crown Prince jumped up from his seat, but 2 seconds later, he fell to the ground again. What am I doing here today, hey?" "So the so-called School Experience Day is actually School Lunch Experience Day," the girl complained. A few seconds later, the girl sighed and took out a cloth bag from her desk. She opened it and said, "Sigh. I can't help it. No matter what, it's not good for your body to not eat for so long. Anyway, have a rice ball first." "Wow." Crown Prince jumped up again, his eyes shining. "Sister, you actually..." At this moment, he seemed to realize something, and his touched expression turned into resentment. "You actually brought a lunchbox?" "Yes, I did some research beforehand. This school doesn't provide lunch," the girl replied calmly. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Crown Prince grabbed the girl's collar and shook her. Smack. The girl decisively slapped Crown Prince's face and replied, "You were the one who asked to come. You should know better than me about this, idiot." He. Crown Prince made a strange sound. "You're calling me an idiot again. How many times do you have to call me an idiot in a day before you're satisfied?" "About 10 times. The girl replied in a low voice. "Also, do you want a rice ball or not?" When he asked this question, he had already opened the cloth bag and opened the lid of the lunchbox. "Yes." As the Crown Prince spoke, he grabbed a rice ball and took a bite. But after chewing a few times, he showed a disappointed expression. "What's going on? There's no seasoning in this rice ball. Can't you just die, Crown Prince?" The girl calmly replied. "If you want seasoning," Feng Bujue continued, "this will do." When he said this, he used his cat claw to pick his nose, and then he casually stuck something he picked out onto the rice ball in Crown Prince's hand. Crown Prince's face was filled with horror. This little devil. More or less, there is a saltiness to it, and it makes the texture more mysterious and layered, Feng Bujue said nonchalantly. In terms of color, it is quite eye-catching as well. Damn it. In the next second, Crown Prince seemed to have reached the end of his patience. He threw away the rice ball, shouted loudly, and rushed towards Brother Jew. Chapter 802. Don't be impulsive, Prince. The girl clamped down on Prince's shoulders from behind. He's just a primary school kid. This kind of kid, Prince said stubbornly. Let me kill him while he's still in primary school. This line sounds familiar, Feng Bujua said with a smile. I've heard it at least 10 times, of course. He meant that he had heard it at least 10 times in real life. Prince was clamped down by the girl and couldn't move an inch, but he still waved his hands at Brother Jew without giving up. How did such an uncute kid live to this age? I've heard this line at least 100 times. Feng Bujua said calmly. I'm going to kill you. Prince continued to clamor. This line. Countless times. Brother Jew rubbed his chin and said, If I could get $1 every time someone said this to me, I would be a millionaire now. 3 minutes later, ha! Ha! Prince knelt down again. I can't. I have no energy left. You're a little weak. Feng Bujua looked at him condescendingly. Xiaoya didn't look tired at all. She didn't seem to be out of breath. I guess it's because I'm hungry. TSK. How dare you stop me as my companion? Prince turned around and stared at the girl. I can't eat school lunch. No matter how I think about it, it's all your fault. So it's all my fault. The girl immediately complained. If that's the case. Prince's face suddenly became gloomy. There's no other way. I'm going to frame you with a groundless crime and sentence you to life imprisonment. It seems like he suddenly realized his identity as the Prince Regent. The girl looked a little flustered. I know. I'll punish him with the crime of giving someone else's dog a random name, Prince said after thinking for a few seconds. Speaking of which, when I went to the Sui Kingdom, I did give the Crown Prince a name like Love Poo 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 Ball, the girl replied. Feng Bujua looked at the duo, who were like a pair of teasing partners, a special relationship that existed in the wonderful story of the world's teasing life. In this universe, forming a teasing pair was a life event more important than marriage, and thought to himself, this is harder than I thought. Prince has been abused by his sister too much. If I want to deal a serious blow to his spirit and force him to leave, I seem to have to do something more ruthless. The second class, art class, I feel like it will be very interesting. Because it was an art class, Prince's interest returned, and his mood became better. Teacher. As soon as class started, Feng Bujua raised his hand and complained, Prince didn't bring paints and brushes. Before he could finish his words, the entire class turned to look at him. It's this brat again. Prince, who was at a loss, glared at his brother Bujua angrily. I can't help it. The art teacher showed an impatient look. Prince, you can borrow from the other students. Oh, okay. Prince replied awkwardly. But Prince was sitting against the wall. In front of him was an empty seat. On his right was the wall, and on his left was Feng Bujua's sister. Did you bring any? Prince turned around and asked the girl. At this time, the girl just happened to take some paints and brushes from Xiongji. I didn't bring any, but Xiongji Kuan, who is sitting next to me, lent me some. Sister. Prince's expression changed slightly, and he wanted to say something. But the girl interrupted him and said, I don't even have enough for myself. You should borrow from someone else, Prince. What? Prince's expression became serious, and he said sternly, as a black warrior of the Ink Squad, is this really okay? I don't remember joining that strange group. The girl said coldly. The Red Warrior has high hopes for you. The Crown Prince was still talking nonsense with a deadpan expression. Who is the Red Warrior? The girl asked in surprise. The Red Warrior is a fish that can swim thousands of miles in a day even in ink. Prince quickly replied. Even if you talk nonsense, I don't have any extra painting tools to lend you. The girl was too lazy to complain. Thus, Prince's gaze helplessly shifted to Feng Bujue. Hee. Brother Ju met Crown Prince's gaze with a wicked gaze. Not lending it to you. This bastard. Prince jumped up from his seat. I won't let you get away with this. The girl once again clamped down on him. Hey, the teacher is still in the classroom. Don't stop me. Prince leaned forward. I'm going to use my ultimate skill, Flying Regent Poseidon attack, to end him. Oh, sounds like a good skill, Feng Bujue said. If possible, I really want to see it with my own eyes. Eh? Do you really think so? Prince was delighted. I'm just kidding. Feng Bujue's tone suddenly became cold. Just from the name of the skill, I know it's bad. How dare you? Prince was going crazy. I'm going to squeeze your blood out to make ink. Feng Bujue shrugged and replied, It's paint, the third class, ho. Music is my strong suit. Prince came to the music classroom and immediately picked up a guitar. I feel like there's no point in humiliating this guy. He's definitely a natural idiot. Feng Bujue looked at him from afar and muttered in a low voice. Was my strategy wrong from the beginning? La, the girl and the fishbone are a pair of good friends. Prince held his guitar and started singing. The inside of the pillow is full of fishbones, ah. Ha. His lyrics were silly and cute, and his guitar did not produce a normal melody. In short, he just pretended as if nothing had happened and continued to complain. Hey, uncle. Brother Ju pondered for a moment and walked over. I think you should stop now. Ah, it's you again. Prince lowered his head and looked at his brother Ju. What do you want this time? Nothing. Feng Bujue continued. I just want to ask you a question. A kid is still a kid. Prince smiled proudly. Say it, if there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me as a lord. No, as a regent. That's right. Uncle, you came to the elementary school on a whim to organize an experience day or something. You seem to have a lot of free time. At this moment, Feng Bujue used the ultimate skill that was ridiculed as a forbidden skill. If this skill did not work, he would have to give up. Don't you have anything else to do? Like see your girlfriend? Chapter 803. Side Quest Completed. Special Scenario Reward, 200 Skill Points. Feng Bujue's ultimate skill successfully shattered Prince Shengda's mental defense. The prince lost his mobility due to the trauma and was taken away from the school by the girl. Looking back, the difficulty of this side quest was average. It was definitely not harder than murder without a body. Therefore, the reward for this side quest was average as well. 1 week later, on the path near Miao Mei's home. After the announcement that the quest had been completed, the change of location followed. Brother Ju and Xiao Tan appeared at the location indicated by the system. We're here again. Wang Tongji immediately said, the last time we came here was around midnight. But I've been walking around this area for a long time now. Feng Bujue answered casually. Brother Ju. Xiao Tan was suddenly reminded of something. He turned to Brother Ju and asked, previously, after we completed the side quest, we didn't change locations immediately. Why did we change locations this time? I have no idea either. Feng Bujue said, perhaps it has something to do with the progression of the scenario. His expression turned serious. Including this chapter, there are only 7 chapters left to reach the goal of 33 chapters. With the plot's tension, it should be nearing the end already. I see. Xiao Tan nodded. Just as they were talking, 2 human figures slowly walked over from the T-junction in front of them. Brother Ju and Xiao Tan looked at them. They were 2 Mei and Miao Mei, who were carrying backpacks. There haven't been any cases recently, 2 Mei said as she walked. By the way, Miao Mei-chan, aren't there any dismembered bodies hanging from the trees in your yard? About 100 would be fine. Miao Mei glanced at 2 Mei out of the corner of her eyes. Even if you're looking forward to the hellish cases that happen at my house, there's nothing I can do about it, their dialogue was still as Japanese as ever. They talked about strange things in a straightforward manner. "Good morning, you two." A few seconds later, another figure appeared. It was Xiong Jijuan, who was wearing a set of see-through women's pajamas. He greeted the two girls as if nothing had happened and said, "Today's weather is really good. Did you guys hear that there's going to be another transfer in our class today?" Before he could finish his sentence, Tu Mei's sharp gaze locked onto him again. That gave me a fright. Bunny Mei-chan's gaze has become sharp. Xiong Ji stopped in his tracks in shock. Could it be? Once again, he uttered the line that sounded like an explanation. It can't be wrong. This kind of gaze means that Bunny Mei-chan's inspiration is coming, and her mental power is focused on the case. Due to this characteristic, Bunny Mei-chan was given the nickname of "scared out of my skin." He paused. But where exactly is this case? Why do I feel like every time he introduces Tu Mei's nickname, the content is different? Xiao Tan, who was watching from the side, narrowed his eyes. This is similar to Tu Mei has a different character on the chest of each of her clothes. Feng Bujue continued. Either it's a deliberate plot point, or the author of Japanese Harmony always forgets what he drew last time. While the two were discussing, Tu Mei had already taken out her phone. Obviously, she wanted to call the police. Why? This is not right. Xiong Ji Kun said in a panic. "Are you going to call the police to arrest me again? Where did you steal it from this time, you pervert? You perverted bear." When Bunny Mei asked him the question, she didn't stop dialing. "This is his own." Before Xiong Ji Kun could answer, Feng Bujue Kun had already walked forward to interrupt their conversation. "Yes, I have seen Xiong Ji Kun wear it once." Wang Tanji Kun also walked forward and agreed without changing his expression. At this point in the script, Xiao Tan Kun's moral integrity had already crumbled to the ground. He had already gotten used to the fact that Xiong Ji Kun was lying. "Is that so?" Tu Mei Kun said. "I thought it was already ridiculous to wear a bra during the last outing. I didn't expect a pervert like you to have so many tricks up your sleeve." "Yeah, this guy has a lot of weird clothes at home," Feng Bujue said. Yes. Didn't he wear the same outfit as Bears_I from Detective Tadpole?" Xiao Tan added. "Are you two perverts trying to protect Xiong Ji Kun?" Tu Mei continued. Ever since the strange thief Bears_I mission, Xiao Tan and his brother Ju had been accused of being underwear thieves. Tu Mei often called them that, so Xiao Tan was used to it. In addition, speaking of that incident, there was something that Xiao Tan couldn't understand. After the mission, there was one thing that puzzled him, and that was, this universe's handling of such cases was ridiculously lax. Xiao Tan had found a chance to ask Xiong Ji how long they would be sentenced for an incident like the one they had committed last time. In the end, Xiong Ji told him that the burglary and confrontation with the police would only be locked up for 3 days. For a crime like Xiong Ji's usual crimes, he would be released after 1 day. That was in the future. If this was real life, they would have to spend at least 5 years picking up soap in prison. How is that possible? Facing Tu Mei's question, Feng Bujue replied shamelessly, "What good is there for us to protect him?" Tu Mei thought about it for a few seconds before putting her phone away. "Never mind." She shrugged. "If it really belongs to Xiong Ji, then it's not really an incident." Just as she said that, suddenly, successfully disrupted the investigation of Mr. Panda's pajamas incident. Bonus skill points for special scenario. 50 Xiong Ji's hatred toward you increased by 5%. Please note, Xiong Ji's hatred toward player Feng Bujue has reached 100%. Hidden quest has been triggered. Main quest has been changed. A series of unfamiliar system announcements rang in the ears of the two players. They quickly opened the game menu to take a look. Xiong Ji's number of arrests has been limited to 10 times, including the 10th. This rule had changed, and it became Before the scenario ends, try to hide your identity as a player. What? What? At that moment, Brother Ju and Xiao Tan said the same thing in their hearts, but their emotions were slightly different. When he saw this strange and unprecedented mission, Xiao Tan was surprised and confused. And Feng Bujue, when he saw the mission description, he realized something. He felt shock, fear, and anxiety. Chapter 804. Please note that the Hirata and Hirata's world in this volume refer to the characters and chapters of Gag Manga Nikwa. It has nothing to do with the story of Hirata Shuichi in the previous volume. Before the two titled kings could recover from their shock, the change of scenery had arrived. And this time, it was similar to the opening cinematic. They suddenly lost control of their bodies and entered a first-person perspective. Soon, a gray sky appeared in front of their eyes. Then, the camera panned down. A three-dimensional street scene appeared in the screen. On a place that looked like a rooftop, a left hand, or more accurately, a human's left hand, picked up a comic book. 1 second later, a right hand flipped the book open. At that moment, the camera traveled into a two-dimensional world. The style of this world was simple and crude. It looked like the world of a gag manga. Ours, tomorrow's. As the scene changed, a piece of music played in the player's ears. Light in front of you, eyes in the depths of your heart. The song continued to play, and the camera kept moving and changing. Under the vast sky, door of dreams. This CG scene moved from a four-eyed guy in green clothes sitting in a shop eating ramen, to the gloomy baseball players on the TV screen of the ramen shop, and then to the four-eyed guy, and then to a female streamer, and then to the four-eyed guy, and then to the four-eyed guy, and then to the four-eyed guy, and then to a female streamer, and then to the four-eyed guy. This cycle continued, switching back and forth between the ramen-eating guy and many seemingly unrelated characters. Light, must, the power of tears, the power of the heart, must, the end of freedom. Yes, fix, the oil stains on your hands. Gag manga nikwa. The song was not that good. Be it the lyrics, melody, or arrangement, they all gave off a serious vibe, but it made the audience feel emotional. By the time the song was over, the messy and incomprehensible scenes were also over. The next second, Feng Bujue and Wang Tongji regained control of their bodies. Their surroundings had become a vast expanse of grassland. The terrain here was slightly inclined and the grass was green. The sky looked a little gloomy, and the gentle breeze made the two of them feel a little chilly. It's about time for me to lay my cards on the table. Suddenly, a slightly hoarse and lazy male voice sounded. Did you hear that? Feng Bujue looked at Xiao Tan. Ah, Xiao Tan replied, I heard it very clearly. The reason why the two of them said this was because the voice they heard at that moment was abnormal. These words were not received through their ears, but directly appeared in their minds. It was just like the system voice. My name is Hirata Hino. I'm a little different. I've sensed it. I realized that I'm actually a character in a comic. Is it Hirata-kun? The look in Feng Bujue's eyes changed slightly. Many clues were strung together in his mind, and the tiredness accumulated in his mind was swept away at this moment. Haha, now everything makes sense. I think I've read this story before. Wang Tongji's eyes lit up and he whispered to Brother Ju, it's called Hirata's World, right? I think it's a Chinese dubbed version. Pooh. 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 Before Xiao Tan finished, several strange noises came from not far away. At the same time, from the corner of his eyes, he saw several black shadows descending from the sky. The black shadows landed on the grass several meters away from him and his brother Ju. That's not what I expected. Feng Bujue turned around to look at the things that landed on the grass, and he said with a chilling smile, Hey, Brother Ju, what's going on? 2 seconds later, Xiao Tan also saw the real faces of the black shadows. His terror points shot up instantly. he suddenly realized that some parts of this so-called funny comic world were even scarier than a real horror movie. Initially, I was filled with curiosity about this world. Based on my understanding of comics, I came up with some scenarios that might happen, and everything happened one by one. When Hirata spoke, Fong Bujue's eyes wandered over the pile of bloody bodies on the ground. I wanted a nemesis, and here he is. Listening to his words, Fong Bujue's eyes stopped on a dead body that was wearing white underwear. The body was slightly rotund. He wore a pair of blue shoulder pads, white underpants, white knee-length socks, green sneakers, and a pair of white wrist guards. He was wearing underwear on his head, and he had a pair of monster ears. He had a cute hairstyle that looked like a ball of fur on his head. He's obviously a loathsome guy, yet he claims to be my rival in love. Although I don't know his name, he said the name of my lover. Xiao Yi, Japanese pronunciation, Yochan. Brother Ju's eyes moved again to another dead body. The appearance of this corpse was simple to describe. It was a tall, thin, middle-aged man wearing blue swimming trunks with a buzz cut. Xiaoye was an uncle who chewed on something weird. Instead of calling him Xiaoye, it would be more accurate to call him Uncle Yi. Just as I was thinking about whether or not I should just give Xiao Yi to that piece of trash, Brother Nemesis mentioned that I was a striker. Thus I thought, did I have a master or something? When he heard this, Xiao Tan could not help but look down to the ground. The body that he was looking at, in terms of body, was no longer human. It felt like this was a humanoid creature that the author wanted to draw but messed up. The creature's head was a rough oval with eyebrows, eyes, nose, and mouth covering the entire face. Its body was thinner than its head, like a long strip. Its torso had a dozen intersecting abdominal muscles that looked like fish bones. Its limbs were short, and its arms were thicker and longer than its legs. Then, a disgusting-looking master appeared and said that I was the successor of the There was no other way. I could only try to use a killing move. In the end, I clapped my hands and released the master's twin brother. Ah, I see it. Fong Bujue looked at the body that was lying next to his master. It looked exactly like his master. After defeating the nemesis, the masters mentioned a setting that seemed to be the main storyline: defeat the Demon King. If the master's appearance was, he wanted to draw a human but didn't do it well, then the Demon King's style could be described as, he gave up on treatment. He had a face that was similar to Xiao Ye's. Even though he was only wearing his underwear, at least he looked normal. It was just that his torso was like layers of rice cakes stacked on top of each other, and there were 2 rows of thin and long soft hair floating on both sides of his torso. From afar, he looked like a centipede with a human head and long legs. However, not long after the Demon King appeared, he died from his old illness, coughing. This is indeed Hirata's world. After hearing so much from the voice, Xiao Tan could basically remember the plot of the anime. But how come I remember that only the Nemesis and the Demon King died? The other 3 characters should still be alive. When Xiao Yi and the 2 masters tossed me into the sky and cheered, "Long live the Demon King," I realized, at that moment, Hirata Hino's tone changed. It became low and sinister. I am a character from a parody comic. From the beginning of the story, I am a joke. A laughable nemesis, a laughable lover, a laughable master, and a laughable Demon King. A laughable, short life. I have no ties that I can't let go of, no unforgettable love, no legacy of kindness, and no hot-blooded battles. What I have is the ability to comment on everything that appears before my eyes. I can't move people, and people don't care about my feelings. I am unwilling to accept this kind of life, but I can't escape this cycle. Every time someone flips through a comic, opens a web page, opens a file, or plays a video, I have to repeat this endless nightmare. I've had enough. So, I killed them. I want you to understand that I am not a whining slave for you to pass the time. The last sentence changed from a system voice to a conversational one. Before the voice finished, Feng Bujue and Wang Tongji turned to the source of the voice. However, they saw that a figure had appeared on the lawn behind them at some point in time. It was a man wearing a light green long-sleeved sweater and a pair of gray pants. He had medium-length hair. He looked very normal and ordinary, just like his name, Hirata Hino. If this was some kind of hot-blooded comic, a character like him would only be a minor character. But here, in Hirata's world, he was the main character. Haha, what do you mean by "for us to pass the time"? Feng Bujue smiled and looked at Hirata calmly. How come? I don't understand what you're saying? There's no point in denying it. Hirata's tone turned harsh. Gu-yun Mao Taro, Jin Izumi Sun Taro. His eyes scanned Brother Ju and Xiao Tan's faces. Those aren't your real names, right? He raised his head and grinned wickedly. I know your players. Chapter 805. Players. Feng Bujue repeated the question with a smile. What players? We don't play online games. Hearing Brother Ju's reply, Xiao Tan could not help but glance at him from the corner of his eyes. He thought to himself, Brother Ju is indeed something else. To be able to tell an NPC who might not belong to this online game world that he does not play online games without batting an eyelid in a world that is connected to an online game. When he was thinking about something, he did not pay much attention to the punctuation. From a certain perspective, this should be the legendary triple edition of Lying Through Your Teeth, right? You know very well what I'm talking about. Hirata glared at Brother Ju and said, Do you think denying it is going to change anything? Humph. Feng Bujue replied with a smile. Then, assuming, and please note that this is just an assumption, assuming that we are the so-called players that you mentioned, what do you plan to do? In less than a second, Hirata replied coldly, consciousness attack. Once that was said, Wang Tongji's expression changed immediately. Feng Bujue reacted quickly. He immediately took half a step forward to stand in front of Xiao Tan and said, I'm sorry, but I just started Primary 4, so I don't understand the word attack. Is that so? Hirata scoffed. But it looks like your friend understood it. Tisk. Feng Bujue grumbled with annoyance. This guy is quite good at reading people's body language. At the same time, Xiao Tan said with regret, Oh no. I forgot that I'm a primary school student, and I've dragged Brother Ju down with me again. 2 seconds later, Feng Bujue replied to Hirata with a normal expression, Oh? Is that so? Perhaps it's because he's quite good at English. As he spoke, he turned back to look at Xiao Tan. Hayataro, what is the meaning of that word? Consciousness, Xiao Tan replied succinctly. Haha. Feng Bujue chuckled. He looked at Hirata and said, So, you're planning to use some kind of mental attack on us? Yes, Hirata replied. Can I ask, why is that? Feng Bujue asked. Just because we are the so-called players? He was under a lot of pressure, but his tone and demeanor were as relaxed as ever. When he said the word player, he did not forget to raise his claws and make a quotation mark gesture. Is that not a good enough reason? Hirata countered. Do we still need to explain the hatred that we have for you? Why don't you explain yourself? Feng Bujue was trying to prolong the conversation to gather more information. Put yourself in my shoes, Maotaro, or rather, I don't know your real name, Mr. Player. Hirata said, if one day you realize that you are just a character created by someone else, how would you feel? He paused before continuing. When you realize your background, appearance, personality, experience, and so on are all made up by someone else, your every word and action is just another person's fantasy drawn by someone else with a pen or a keyboard, and the joy, anger, sadness, and joy that you have experienced, the feelings that you think are real, are all created by someone else. Phew. At this point, Hirata let out a long sigh. When that happens, what will you be left with? From your head to your toes, from your mind to your body, is there anything that truly belongs to you? He shook his head and smiled bitterly. I can tell you this, when you've figured everything out, the only thing left in your heart will be an endless, unfilled hole and sadness. Only hatred will be able to fill your heart. Ha! Ha 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 ha! When Feng Bujua heard this, he suddenly started to laugh maniacally. His laughter was so wicked and maniacal. To be honest, when he typed that sentence, I had no idea what he was going to do next. I thought you were going to say something. Brother Ju laughed for a while before he shrugged. Don't you think the sentence that you just said is a paradox? What did you say? Hirata asked in a low voice with confusion on his face. Let me put it this way, Feng Bujua said slowly. Assuming it is as you said, that your way of thinking and your words and actions are all premeditated by someone else, then, at this moment, the doubts, thoughts, resentment, and hatred that you have toward your own existence are undeniably premeditated by the person who created you. In other words, you're not questioning, you're not thinking, and you don't have any dissatisfaction or hatred. These are all things that a certain author has bestowed upon you with a pen or a keyboard. Your rather repressed emotions and actions are essentially no different from complaining. At most, they are different in terms of purpose. Some actions are meant to make people think, and some actions are meant to make people laugh, but at the end of the day these are not your own purposes. Based on what you said, you have never had a purpose. This is because everything about you, from your mental state to your physical state, was instilled by someone else. When Hirata heard this, he started to waver. On the other hand, Feng Bujue continued his narration. We can make another hypothesis. For example, when the creator focuses his attention elsewhere, you will become an individual who can think independently and possess self-awareness. In that case, you will have to admit that part of your existence does belong to you. Perhaps your fate is influenced by a creature from a higher dimension, but you are not completely helpless. Your relationship is similar to the relationship between the Creator and the mortals in a religion. You can complain that life has treated you like a bitch, but you cannot say that you have lived your whole life like an actor. No, that's not right. Hirata's eyes were filled with uncertainty, and he mumbled a denial. However, he did not go any further to refute Feng Bujue's theory. At the same time, Xiao Tan sidled up to his brother Ju and whispered, Even though I have no idea what you're talking about, it sounds very impressive, to be honest. I've thought about what he said a long time ago. Feng Bujue also turned his head to whisper to Xiao Tan, I've stopped thinking about it a long time ago. So, you've been thinking about it, Xiao Tan said. Wait a minute, before that, would a normal person have thought about that kind of question? While they were talking, Hirata, who was not far away, hugged his head with both hands and screamed loudly before kneeling on the ground. In the blink of an eye, his silhouette started to fade. The colors were disappearing from his body at a speed visible to the naked eye. It looked like he was being smeared away by the correction fluid. Calm down, Hirata-kun. At that moment, another voice suddenly spoke up. Do not fall into the other party's trap of logic. Once that was said, Hirata shuddered, and the fading stopped. The next second, the two kings turned to look in the direction of the voice. When they saw the appearance of the person who spoke, both of them were shocked. Aiko the penguin. Feng Bujua looked at the newcomer and said with a frown, You're not dead. Aiko the penguin's face was dark. Of course I'm not dead. As he spoke, he slowly walked over. Do you think Xiongji can kill me? Oh. Brother Bujue seemed to understand something immediately. He raised his brows and said, No wonder. Beside him, Xiao Tan's mind was also moving. He said softly, So that's how it is. I knew it. Xiong-ji would not commit a murder like that. My death is nothing more than an illusion. Aiko the penguin walked to stand before them and said, "The purpose of creating this illusion is to test the time period that you two have been controlling these two bodies. Looks like you've already come to a conclusion." Feng Bujue's expression was cold, and his tone was hostile. "Even though I can't say it's 100% accurate, but perhaps it was because of their race," Aiko the penguin rarely smiled. Even though he was speaking with a smug tone, his face was expressionless. "I'm 80 to 90% accurate." Chapter 806. After the incident with the bandit bears _I. Feng Bujue continued, "That basically confirmed it, right?" "Very sharp, Mr. Player who is controlling Mao Taro," Aiko the penguin said. "In terms of reasoning speed, he appears to be even faster than me." "Hey, what is going on?" Xiao Tan was having trouble keeping up with their train of thought, so he quickly interrupted to ask, "Yes, what is going on?" Feng Bujue put his hands in his pockets and looked at Aiko the penguin. "Please explain it to me, Aiko the penguin. I would also like to hear the details." "Humph, what reason do I have to tell you all this?" Aiko the penguin asked. "Why not?" Feng Bujue pointed at Hirata. "As long as Hirata-kun is here, everything is under your control, isn't it?" He opened his arms and tilted his head to the side. "If you don't share this meticulous plan of yours with us, wouldn't that be like casting pearls before swine?" Aiko the penguin was silent for a few seconds. He did not immediately respond to Brother Ju's request. Instead, he walked to Hirata's side and asked, "Are you okay, Hirata-kun?" "I am fine." Hirata's breathing had just calmed down. "Don't worry." As he spoke, he sat up. The color of his body gradually returned to its original appearance. Seeing this, Aiko the penguin sighed in relief. Then he turned around to look at the two players. "Okay. I don't mind telling you." At that moment, another voice came from behind Brother Ju and Xiao Tan. "Let's start from the day they were transferred to our class." "Is that necessary?" Xiao Tan turned around and complained, "Every time they appear from behind us." Feng Bujue did not need to turn around to know that the person who appeared this time was Tu Mei. "As expected, you were involved as well," Feng Bujue mumbled. "Of course," Tu Mei walked over and said coldly, "Aiko the penguin was in the dark and I was in the light. Detective, you live up to your reputation." Feng Bujue said, "It must be hard for you to deal with Xiong-ji's cases all the time." "It's fine," Tu Mei replied. "After all, I like reporting things to the police." "Then I'd like to ask you something." Feng Bujue glanced at Tu Mei and then looked at Aiko the penguin. "Was it Tu Mei-chan or Aiko the penguin who saw through us and came up with this test plan?" "It's hard to say who saw through you first," Aiko the penguin replied. "When Tu Mei-chan came to find me to discuss this problem, we all sensed that something was wrong with you. As for the plan, it was something we discussed and came up with together," Tu Mei replied. "Understood." Feng Bujue nodded. "Please continue." He extended his hand and made a "please" gesture, indicating for them to continue. "Then I'll start from the beginning." Several seconds later, Aiko the penguin exchanged a look with Tu Mei and Hirata before he said, "On the day you transferred to our school, Xiong-ji committed the crime as usual. Even though from our perspective, it was nothing out of the ordinary, but—" His gaze swept across Brother Ju and Xiao Tan's faces. "Objectively speaking, a crime is a crime. As new transfer students, your reaction to the incident of Xiong-ji's arrest was a bit too calm. You saw your classmate being taken away by the police for his perverted actions, but you didn't even ask anyone about it. That doesn't make sense, does it?" Aiko the penguin paused for half a second before continuing. "Of course, I also considered that since you confidently claimed that you were famous detectives when you introduced yourselves, then there is a possibility that you are already used to committing crimes, which is why you acted so nonchalantly. At the time, that was what I thought as well. Tu Mei added, so we didn't take any further action. However, about an hour later, you reacted very differently from before. Aiko the penguin continued. It was as if the two of you suddenly snapped out of it and started to ask about the case. This kind of sudden change in behavior undoubtedly made me feel a bit strange. Listening to Aiko the penguin's description, Wang Tongji couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. He thought to himself, this is a comic world. There are so many weird characters doing weird things. Even you guys have been doing the same thing. But why are you acting more serious and smart than I am? Then, it was the next day. At this time, Tu Mei took over from Aiko the penguin and said, the two of you appeared near Xiang Mei's house again, or rather, the scene of Xiong Ji's peeping incident. She looked at Xiao Tan. It's not strange for the two of you to appear near the crime scene. After all, our town is not big, and our classmates' houses are all in this area. I happened to pass by and heard the scream, so I rushed over. She then looked at Brother Ju. But you suddenly attacked Xiong Ji and stopped him from confessing. This is too strange. In other words, our attitude toward the two of you changed from confusion to suspicion because of that scene, Aiko the penguin said. Hearing this, even though Feng Bujue did not show it on the surface, he admitted internally, indeed, it was my mistake. Because it was a normal difficulty scenario, and it was a universe that I was familiar with. No, it was a universe that I thought I was familiar with, so I did not think twice before doing certain things. I do not think that all the crazy cases that happened before my eyes were done by Xiong Ji. I have never thought that. Tu Mei continued her description. But with Xiong Ji present, he is more suspicious than anyone else. That is an undeniable fact. She crossed her arms before her chest and continued. The two of you have known Xiong Ji for less than 2 days, and, the morning before yesterday, he only met you once before he was taken away by the police. To say that there is some kind of friendship between the two of you is obviously not realistic. Her eyes fell on Brother Ju's face again. But you, Maotaro, you seem to know him very well. When he was about to expose his crime, you used a very simple and violent method to stop him and voluntarily took the blame for Xiong Ji's crime. The penguin assistant added, if we still don't have the idea of investigating in the face of such a situation, then we can't be called famous detectives. That's right. Tu Mei said. Therefore, later that day, I went to find Aiko the penguin to discuss the two of you. Therefore, the next day, the investigation of the two of you began, Aiko the penguin said. Ha! That harassment letter. Feng Bujue raised his eyes to look at Aiko the penguin. You wrote it, right? Yes. Aiko the penguin admitted. I even purposely imitated Xiong Ji's tone and handwriting. He shook his head. But, from the actual situation, it does not seem to be necessary. Because Xiong Ji has done so many perverted things that even he cannot remember them all, so it is very easy to frame him. Tu Mei added, after helping him so many times, you should have noticed this by now, right? Beep. So that's how it is. Xiao Tan gasped. No wonder this guy would act like he had no idea what was going on every time he encountered an incident, and not long after, he would calmly expose himself. I thought this guy was just using that kind of behavior to create trouble. This does have something to do with his character setting as well. At that moment, Hirata-kun, who had been silent for a while, spoke again. In our world, most of the characters, or rather, creatures have characters that are similar to Xiong Ji's character. For example, Matsuo Basa, Prince Shengda, Werewolf Fujita, Naoshi and his son, the manager of the product development department and his subordinates, and so on. They are the main creators of trouble. This group of people, some are chunibu, some are cute, some are pretentious, and some are truly idiotic. His description coincided with Feng Bujue's understanding of this universe. These people will not consider the things that I told you earlier. At this point, his expression changed slightly. But there is a group of people like me, May and Aiko the penguin. Other than playing along with those people, we will have other ideas. Chapter 807. To put it simply, Aiko the penguin continued. The highly intelligent creatures in our universe have the ability to detect creatures from a higher dimension. May added, and Hirata-kun is the first person to do that. Going from 1 to 2 is easy, but going from 0 to 1 is as hard as climbing the heavens. Aiko the penguin continued. All of us are grateful to Hirata-kun. It was him who helped us understand. He looked at Brother Ju and Xiao-tan. That there is still the existence of you in our world. Is that so? Feng Bujue answered. But why would you refer to us as players? When he asked that question, Wang Tongji realized something. That's right, even if they know they are characters from a comic, why would they refer to us as players? Based on normal logic, shouldn't they refer to us as readers or viewers? If they refer to us as players, then it means because. Shuichi answered Feng Bujue's question. Other than the higher dimension, we have discovered a parallel dimension that is similar to ours. It was a connected game called Thriller Paradise that sent you here, right? Aiko the penguin added. There is no need to look so surprised. Naturally, that was directed at Xiao-tan. Before you, we have run into other players, and there is more than one group. Hearing that, the last doubt in Brother Ju's heart was answered, and his expression relaxed. Compared to you, those people's actions were rather rash, but it was not that hard to get information from them. Aiko the penguin continued. The difficult part was, due to the difference in dimension, we needed to use a long time to identify you. Other than that, May added, even if we locked onto the target, we could not be 100% sure that the target was a creature from a higher dimension. This is because there are many people like Xiongji in our world, people with low IQ and EQ. When they do something out of the ordinary, it is hard to tell whether they are being controlled or they are just fooling around. Brother Ju. At that moment, Xiao-tan lowered his voice to whisper to Feng Bujue, something is not right? It looks like we cannot hide this any longer. Why are you panicking? Feng Bujue also lowered his voice and replied in a voice that only Xiao-tan could hear. Has the system notified you that you have failed the main mission? Not yet. Xiao-tan. Then that's it, Brother Ju replied calmly. Don't worry, let's wait for them to finish. After the two whispered to each other, Feng Bujue raised his voice again and asked, so where were we? He asked hypocritically and took the opportunity to bring the topic back. Oh, right. That stalker letter was your first test, right? How did it go? It was very successful. May replied, according to my observation you. He looked at Brother Ju, are a very smart and eloquent person, and you have a considerable understanding of our world. If there is an obvious weakness, it would be, you think too highly of yourself, or even narcissism. Holy **T. The famous detectives are so good. Their observation and analysis are so accurate. As Xiao-tan listened, he complained in his heart, I am a doctor, but I suddenly feel like my IQ is not enough to deal with you guys. I think that to deal with people like you, it is indeed quite difficult to play a direct game. May continued, but retreating in order to advance should work wonders. Aiko the penguin continued, therefore, regarding the outcome of the stalker letter incident, May hesitated a little, and chose to compromise. I understand. It seems that you are not just a simple peeping Tom and violent man. The famous detective Mao Taro from Beast Elementary School really lives up to his reputation. At this moment, May's response clearly flashed in Feng Bujue's mind. He had to admit that retreating in order to advance was indeed the best way to deal with Brother Ju. Tu Mei's compromise made Brother Ju ignore many of the strange details, so I gave up on calling the police. Tu Mei continued, I wanted to see your reaction. She paused and looked at Brother Ju. But your personality has changed significantly. Feng Bujua asked, What do you mean, Mr. Player? Tu Mei's eyes changed slightly. Mao Taro, who is no longer under your control, speaks and speaks very differently from you. She pointed at Xiao Tan. This is not obvious with Sun Taro. She then pointed at Brother Ju. But you are a very unique person, Mr. Player. If the main attributes of a character in a gag comic are categorized into playing dumb and roasting, you don't belong to either of them. Hirata added, when you defended Xiongji, you used the perspective of a higher dimensional creature to substitute for the virtual character. Then you used the logic and way of speaking in our world that you speculated to solve the problem before you. Even though on the surface, there doesn't seem to be any flaws, Aiko the Penguin added. But there is still a sense of unnaturalness. Tu Mei said, if you want to pinpoint where the problem lies, I'm afraid your mind will inadvertently switch between playing dumb and roasting. The three of them chimed in and answered Brother Ju's question with great chemistry. So, that's how it is. Feng Bujue was still as calm as ever. On the basis of the success of the first test, you planned the death of the penguin helper, right? That's right. Aiko the Penguin replied. After the first test, we gathered all the information we gathered and discussed it. We established a certain degree of friendship with the real Mao Taro and Sun Taro, and we deepened our understanding. Then we came up with a hypothesis. Tu Mei continued, when Xiongji did something that could lead to arrest and was about to walk into the trap, you obviously, the you here refers to the players, would appear. Aiko the Penguin continued, to test this hypothesis, Tu Mei Yuichi and I used some props that we borrowed from the drama club to put on a show in front of you. To think I've been feeling guilty for so long. Xiao Tan heard that and grumbled gloomily, so that monkey is involved as well. Wait a minute. Suddenly, Feng Bujue interrupted the man's narration. This show, didn't you discuss it with Xiongji beforehand? Chapter 808. There's no need for that, Aiko the Penguin replied. Tu Mei added coldly, how many times do I have to tell you before you understand that Xiongji-kun is a completely different character from us? He doesn't have the ability to see through dimensions, nor does he have our intelligence. In fact, he doesn't even follow common logic and common sense. He's just a psychopath who was programmed to commit crimes, plead guilty, and get arrested. That's right, Aiko the Penguin continued. We just lured him into the alley and used the fake corpse and blood prop to scare him away. Then I shouted. He looked at Xiao Tan. In this case, your performance surprised me. I thought you were just another guy's follower, but I didn't expect your reasoning to be so good, and about 70% of it is consistent with the truth. Xiao Tan was not happy at all when he heard the compliment. He was afraid that he would say the wrong thing, so he didn't respond. He also tried to keep the expression on his face unchanged, but, he thought to himself, the kind of reasoning that I made to help Xiongji get off the hook is actually consistent with the actual situation. After creating the illusion that Aiko the Penguin was dead, we observed you for 3 days. A few seconds later, Tu Mei continued, in these 3 days, Xiongji was quite well behaved and didn't commit any crimes. Mao Taro and Sun Taro didn't show any abnormalities. So we carried out another crucial test. You made the dead Aiko the Penguin appear in front of Mao Taro and Sun Taro. Before Tu Mei could reveal the answer, Feng Bujue interrupted. Is that right? Humph. Tu Mei snorted, confirming Brother Ju's reasoning. Anyway, after that, the fact that you are higher dimensional controllers was basically verified. Then, we didn't make any moves for the time being. Aiko the Penguin continued, According to Tu Mei-chan's retreat, in order to advance strategy, we tolerated your behavior and observed your patterns of action to deduce your purpose and identity. Brother Ju, at that time, Xiao Tan thought of something and called out to Feng Bujue. Ah, I know. Before Xiao Tan spoke, Feng Bujue knew what he was going to say, so he replied directly, "The real purpose of the system to suddenly assign us a side mission is to disrupt the investigation of these NPCs. It changed the time period when we controlled Mao Taro and Sun Taro so that we could obtain more information," Xiao Tan continued. "Unfortunately, at that time, we didn't even have a concept of what was going on." Feng Bujue replied in a low voice, "If we had any inkling, we could have carried out many counter-tests during the trip." "Sigh, only now do we remember this." Xiao Tan sighed. "The two of us seemed to be giving advice after the fact." He was right. There was no point in discussing this now. "Then we're almost at the main point," Aiko the penguin said, "which is, the strange thief bears_I incident. That incident was indeed done by Xiongji himself." Bunny Beauty said, "The crime notice card was written by him, and bears_I's identity is clear as day. When you were talking to Xiongji in the school toilet, I was hiding in the innermost cubicle of the toilet, standing on top of the toilet lid." Aiko the penguin said, "I heard everything you said. After school, Aiko the penguin came to find me, and we quickly came up with a plan." Tu Mei said, "For this plan, we invited Hirata-kun to help us." "That I guessed." Feng Bujue said, "With two primary school students like you, it's impossible for you to mobilize so many police officers and arrange such a big scene just to catch a few thieves who stole underwear. To a certain extent, I can interfere with the thought process of those minor characters," Hirata explained. "And Inyanosuke is just a minor character." That night. 1 second later, Tu Mei continued, "The way you reacted when you were surrounded allowed us to confirm that you are definitely not readers, spectators, or transmigrators. The two of you have a clear but illogical goal: to stop Xiongji-kun from being arrested at all costs. When there was nothing you could do, you would lighten his punishment. This characteristic matches perfectly with the players that we know," Aiko the penguin said. "Combined with your intermittent control over Mao Taro and Sun Taro, we get it now. Your mission is to keep appearing in the scenario where Xiongji is about to be arrested and stop him from being arrested," Tu Mei continued. "So, the investigation on you two has come to an end." When Hirata said that, he slowly walked toward the two players. In the days after that, Tu Mei continued to act like she knew nothing. She played her role in the normal way and circled around Xiongji to deal with you. "Of course, since we decided to take a step back," Tu Mei interrupted. "Naturally, I purposely went easy on you." She shrugged and shook her head. "Otherwise, Xiongji would have been arrested every time, and there would have been nothing you could say. And I was responsible for keeping an eye on you from the dark," Aiko the penguin said, "to check if the pattern of the control period that we observed earlier was correct. When everything was ready," Hirata continued, "I brought you all here." When Xiao Tan heard that, his forehead was covered in cold sweat. He whispered to his brother Ju, "So, before we arrived here, the last side quest was the system's final hint?" "Yes," Feng Bujue answered. "The system gave us the whole morning to think about it, but I did not expect that, even after the side quest was completed, the system did not give up. It used a transition to remind us that the next main quest was our last chance to see through these NPCs," Xiao Tan said. "This is such a shame," Feng Bujue sighed. "The familiarity with the world of the scenario has become a burden. If you were to queue up this scenario with someone who doesn't know much about Niwa, perhaps you would have noticed something earlier. Their size would not change anything. At that moment, the man who had everything under his control was, in this world, Hirata-kun's power is invincible," Tu Mei said. He has been preparing for this for a long time. Unless there is an external intervention, you will not be able to escape from this place, Aiko the penguin added. The players who came to this world before this made me realize that you can force a retreat, so I am not afraid. Hirata glared at the two of them and chuckled coldly. Haha, that is why I have been preparing for so long. Before he finished, Fong Bujue opened the game menu cautiously. He tried the option to force himself out of the scenario, and the result, operation failed. The system's voice announced something extremely terrifying. At the same second, Xiao Tan saw the expression on his brother Ju's face shift, and he realized something. The two of them had the same thought. Xiao Tan opened the game menu and tried to force a retreat, operation failed. The same announcement entered Wang Tanji's ears. So, that is why. After a moment's silence, Fong Bujue lifted his head to look at the three NPCs and said, That is why after the incident with the bandit bears _I, you waited so long before you brought us here. Main quest has been changed. As he spoke, the system announcement came again. Brother Ju and Xiao Tan quickly glanced at the quest tab, and they saw, before the scenario ends, try to hide your identity as a player. This quest had been erased, and in its place was leave the gaming hub. Haha. Thank you, system. Fong Bujue could still laugh. Is this a forced change to the quest? Brother Ju. Wang Tanji's expression was extremely serious. This should be the scariest quest I've encountered since I started playing this game. At this point, they did not hold back anymore. Leave the gaming hub. That's easy for you to say, Fong Bujue said. But we're playing the game in sleeping mode. Before the connection is disconnected, it's hard for us to wake up on our own. He rubbed his chin and said, If we want to use the power of the real world to disconnect the connection, unless someone opens the game cabin from the outside, or something happens to us physically. For example, we need to go to the toilet in a hurry or pain, itch or other obvious discomfort to a certain extent. Then, that's not going to work, Xiao Tan said. That's right. Fong Bujue added as he turned to look at Hirata. Hirata-kun, you are indeed impressive. In your territory, even the system of our world is no match for your power. He shrugged and said, Even though I know a few people who can make the system unable to forcibly disconnect them, they only exist in the data layer of Thriller Paradise itself. But you're different. You're in your own dimension, and you've managed to suppress two higher-dimensional mental hosts. Ha! Hirata smirked. It's useless to flatter me. Just accept your fate. His murderous aura seemed to materialize, and it exploded. I want you two so-called players, so-called higher-dimensional creatures, to experience the feeling of having your mind controlled by someone else. After being hit by my consciousness attack, when you wake up from your own world, you'll either turn into deranged lunatics or drooling idiots. He cackled strangely. Ha ha. You'll make a perfect pair of comedic partners, won't you? Ha 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 ha. He laughed for a while before his expression suddenly turned vicious. He roared, Go back to your own dimension. Go back to acting in King comic. At this point, Hirata appeared to be ready to make his move, but, huff, 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 a wave of creepy laughter came from the sky. You're finally here. Fong Bujue smiled with relief. Ha! I thought it was over. What's going on? Xiao Tan's expression turned from shock to confusion. Fong Bujue, on the other hand, had a smile on his face as he told Hirata, Bunny May and Penguin Helper, you have all underestimated one person. Chapter 809. What? At this moment, Hirata-kun broke out in a cold sweat. Bunny May-chan's gaze sharpened. Aiko the penguin's gums were all exposed. Huff, 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 you've all worked hard. The vulgar voice that came from beyond the sky was, without a doubt, Xiongji's voice. Leave the rest to me. How is this possible? Hirata lifted his head to look at the sky. How did you gain the ability to interfere with my territory? Huff huff. Xiongji chuckled. What's so impossible about that? He paused, and his tone changed slightly. I am an existence that is higher than you to begin with. My knowledge and abilities are far beyond your imagination. Nonsense, Hirata replied. Other than Makiko Mitsui, the magician in Haiwa's Doomsday Saga, he is actually a superhuman. He only needed to use a little bit of his power to successfully stop the apocalypse from happening. Mr. Hirata, there is no one in this world who is more powerful than me. There is someone who is more powerful than you? Fong Bujue interrupted Hirata and chuckled. Ha, isn't your confidence a little too arbitrary? Huff, 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 you're right. At that moment, a giant, half-transparent smiling face appeared in the sky. Earlier, when that guy explained the paradox to you, you should have understood. As a character who is not particularly good at making fun of others. Fong Bujue continued Xiongji's words and chuckled. Your ability is incomparable to Xiongji's. What ability? Aiko the penguin was confused. Xiongji-kun is set to be a maniac with a worrisome IQ. I've never heard of him having any other ability. Of course you haven't heard of it. Fong Bujue interrupted Aiko the penguin again. The mistake you made is actually no different from mine. He looked up at the bare face in the sky. You think you understand the setting of this world very well, you think you are better than others, but in reality, those who are really high have already seen through everything and made the opposite choice. What are you talking about? Tu Mei asked. I don't understand. A second later, Xiao Tan added, Yeah, Brother Ju, I don't know either. Fong Bujue shrugged and replied, Let Xiongji explain it to you. Before he could finish, Xiongji let out another burst of laughter. A few seconds later, the huge face in the sky disappeared, and Xiongji's figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. The truth might be hard for you to accept, but, after Xiongji appeared, he said directly, the highest existences in this world are actually Banana Muley and Prince. Even Xiao Tan could not accept this explanation, much less Hirata and the rest. He exclaimed in shock, What? This is ridiculous. Tu Mei commented immediately. You don't understand? Tu Mei-chan. Xiongji turned to Tu Mei and continued, What if I told you, before Hirata was created, Banana Muley and Prince already knew that they were characters from the manga? Just based on those two idiots? Hirata obviously did not believe that either. However, Aiko the penguin appeared calmer. After thinking about it for a few seconds, he said to Xiongji, If what you said is true, then here comes the problem. Of course, he would not ask Xiongji where he should learn how to operate an excavator. There was no need to look forward to it. Since they've already seen through everything, why are they still behaving so crazily and foolishly? The penguin assistant asked. That is the difference between them and you, Xiongji replied. Oh no, it should be the difference between us and you. To put it simply, Fong Bujue interjected. It is because Xiongji and the rest can see further and more clearly than you, that they choose to accept the status quo. I don't understand. Tu Mei's gaze turned from sharp to confused. Me too. Aiko the penguin had the same expression. Humph, I get it. Hirata chuckled mirthlessly. You bunch are willing to be trapped by the dimension. You don't have the courage to fight against fate. That's all there is to it. He looked at Xiongji condescendingly. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say, Xiongji. If possible, you can pass on my message to Jeo-san, Prince, and other people like you. His expression was serious. If a sane person pretends to be an idiot for the rest of his life, then he is an idiot. In the eyes of others, he is no different from an idiot. At this point, he even spat disdainfully. You are willing to be a clown for others' amusement, and that is your freedom. But we. He waved his hand at Bunny Beauty and Penguin Helper. After knowing the situation we are in, we can't live with a clear conscience like you and live as if nothing has happened. Then, he turned around to face the players again. It appeared like he did not want to say anything to Xiongji anymore because he had said everything he wanted to say. But, idiot! A loud shout was heard and a strong shadow appeared. In a flash, Xiongji leaped forward like a dragon leaping out from the abyss. A bear's paw landed on Hirata's face. Pfft! Hirata was slapped so hard that saliva dripped out of his mouth, and his whole body was sent flying. He did not expect in this Hirata's world there would be a human bear who could injure him. You! After falling to the ground, Hirata quickly sat up and glared angrily at Xiongji. Xiongji, on the other hand, met the man's gaze fearlessly and stepped closer. I have something to tell you as well, Hirata Hino. Listen to me carefully. Even though his appearance and voice had not changed, Xiongji's presence at that moment made him look like a completely different bear from before. That's right, you are a character from a comic. From the moment you were created, you were destined to be a clown. Xiongji looked down at Hirata on the ground. In your laughably short life, the enemies, lovers, masters, and demons that appeared before you were all full of flaws. In your life story, there were no ties that you couldn't let go of, no unforgettable love, no kindness that was passed down to you, and no hot-blooded battles. There was only a plot where you would complain about everything that appeared before you. He was repeating Hirata's earlier monologue, but the meaning was completely different. But don't you think that is enough? At this point, Xiongji's eyes narrowed. As a character from a comic, what do you think the value of your life lies in? What is the purpose of your existence? Isn't it just to provide entertainment? Hirata roared. As long as you understand. Xiongji added in a low voice. The next second, he suddenly roared, then go complain to your heart's content. As he roared, Xiongji delivered another punch and sent Hirata flying several meters away. B*****. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. After Hirata landed on the ground, he wiped the blood from the corner of his lips and propped himself up again. You don't have a painful past, you don't have a prominent background, you don't have a unique personality, and you don't have big dreams. Xiongji continued. Those rich settings do not belong to you, because you were not born to be that kind of character. He paused for half a second and continued. What you have is just a few pages, a few minutes. You have to use that limited space to realize the value of your life. Phew! Xiongji let out a long sigh and continued. Perhaps characters like us from the comic will never be remembered by people, and no one will care about our feelings. He turned to Hirata with a passionate gaze. But, let's not forget this. That's fine. Even if we can't make people cry, there is still one thing we can do, and that is to bring people laughter. At that moment, Feng Bujua spoke again. He continued Xiongji's words. It's not embarrassing to be a clown. In this dimension, be it clown, hero, demon, or saint, they are all the same. Playing your role well is the most powerful response to the higher dimension. Banana Mulberry and Crown Prince saw through this, so they made the corresponding choice. The color on Hirata's body faded again. I refuse to accept this. Pain appeared on his face, and he screamed for the second time. I cannot accept this either, Aiko the penguin said. Only two may remain silent. I don't need you to accept it either, Xiongji said. I told you when I first arrived. Leave the rest to me. Before he could finish his sentence, the space everyone was in began to distort. Brother Ju. Wang Tanji turned to Feng Bujua. Don't panic, Feng Bujua replied calmly. After all, there's no point in panicking. There's nothing we can do. About 10 seconds later, Hirata, Mei, and Aiko the penguin disappeared one after another, and the twisted scenery around them returned to normal. This isn't the first time, right? Brother Ju looked at Xiongji. Xiongji replied. I don't even know how many times this has happened. Xiao Tan looked at them with widened eyes. What do you mean? Huff, huff, huff. You still don't get it? Xiongji replied with a smile. Just now I reset the three of them. Reset? Xiao Tan repeated. So, the people in this world can be reset? Of course. Feng Bujue said. And this happens every day. He immediately gave an example. Why do you think, after being arrested for committing a crime here, they would be released so quickly? Is that the reason? Xiao Tan said with realization. As the higher existence in this world, Banana-san, Prince, and the rest all have the ability to reset the memories of other characters, Xiongji said. Or else this world would have collapsed a long time ago. Oh. Xiao Tan nodded. In other words, you've dealt with situations like Hirata, Tumei, and Aiko the Penguin many times? Yes. Xiongji replied. As he spoke, he looked at Feng Bujue. Speaking of which, how did you know? This isn't the first time I've reset them? After Aiko the Penguin and the rest revealed their identities and plans, I reconsidered everything I've experienced since coming to this world. Feng Bujue said. Then, I figured out some of the doubts that had been troubling me. He laughed bitterly and said to Xiongji, Of course, it was already too late to figure out the problem. As a player, I've already failed this game. If you hadn't appeared in time, I might have lost more than just the game. Xiao Tan looked at his brother Bujue. What have you figured out? I've heard the whole plan from them, but how come I couldn't figure out anything? The moment Hirata-kun appeared, I immediately thought of something. Feng Bujue explained. The creatures in this universe should have the trigger 4 extra-dimensional consciousness. With that in mind, the other characters might have realized that they were characters from the manga. He paused. Therefore, I filtered through all the characters that I've met in the scenario in my mind, and I felt like many of them were suspicious. He pointed at Xiongji. And among them, Xiongji was the most suspicious. Phew. That's very sharp, Xiongji said with a smile. No, on this matter, I feel like I'm already very slow, Feng Bujue said. The hint was there a long time ago, but I didn't expect, hint. Xiao Tan was still confused. Is there such a thing? It's Xiongji's hatred level toward us, Feng Bujue answered. That was the hint? Xiao Tan asked. Yes, that was the most crucial hint, and it was given directly by the system. Feng Bujue answered. Before coming here, I couldn't understand, why would Xiongji-kun's hatred level increase after we helped him get away with his crime? I've considered the possibility that he has a penchant for being arrested, or that he has a double Xiong personality, or that he wants to satisfy Tumei's desire to call the police. He laughed drily. Humph. In the end, I realized that he just didn't want us to ruin the plot of the manga. He looked at Xiongji. Now that I thought about it, it finally dawned on me. Xiongji is the real character who sees this manga world and his own existence from a higher perspective. He is far more superior than Aiko the Penguin, Tumei, and even Hirata. Not bad, Mr. Player, Xiongji said. Unfortunately, we are not in the same dimension, or else I would really like to have a proper competition with you. Same here, Feng Bujue said. You famous detectives from this dimension have really opened my eyes. Wait a minute. At that moment, Xiao Tan seemed to have thought of something. There's something else that's not right. He looked at Xiongji. Since you have such a high hatred level toward us, why did you come to help us? It's very simple. Xiongji smiled. Hasn't your mission been completed? Main mission completed. The system announcement followed Xiongji-kun's words. You even know about our mission? Xiao Tan gasped in shock. Of course I do. Xiongji said. It's because you guys are about to leave that I came to help you. What if it turns into a 34-chapter chapter or something? How difficult would that be? Ha! Feng Bujue said, no matter what, I have to thank you. Yes. Looks like I've been misunderstanding you. Xiao Tan added, I thought you were just a pervert. Ho ho ho, Xiong Ji laughed wretchedly again. I've said it before, I'm not a pervert. Even if I am, I'm a gentleman with the title of pervert. Chapter 810. August 7th, 8 o'clock a.m. It had been exactly 72 hours since Feng Bujue received the requirement of max level in 3 days. On this seemingly ordinary morning, a piece of explosive news appeared on the Dream Company's official website. The tournament for the Best S2 Forum is online today. The war has begun again, the gods have descended once again. With one heart, we are invincible. As long as the players opened any page under the Dream Company's domain, a large pop-up window with this slogan would appear. It was impossible to ignore. What will come will come. Feng Bujue, who was sitting in front of his computer eating breakfast, had a very calm reaction to this announcement. Seeing this, some people must have guessed that, after the Last Supper, Woody had told Brother Ju about this matter. After all, Brother Ju had connections. This was something that normal players couldn't compare to. Of course, Woody had only told Brother Ju 3 days in advance that the tournament was about to begin. As for the other rules and details, he didn't reveal too much. At this moment, those people in the professional circle are probably going crazy. Feng Bujue said as he drank the last mouthful of soy milk. He had a gloating expression on his face. His guess was right. All the major studios had assumed that the preliminaries of the tournament for the Best S2 would be held in November. S1's announcement mentioned that the tournament was held every 6 months. Therefore, at the beginning of August, they were still in a relaxed state. But they never thought that the rules of S2 would be completely different from S1. Whether it was the registration requirements, the preliminaries, the format of the tournament, or the ranking rewards, everything was a complete change. If one had to make an analogy, the S1 tournament for the best was like a small-scale boxing tournament organized by a small-scale boxing league. As for this S2, it felt like one of the 5 major European leagues. Anyway, let's see what's written first. Feng Bujue looked at the screen and muttered as he clicked on the link on the pop-up window. 2 seconds later, he was linked to S2's forum. After learning from the various lessons learned during tournament for the Best S1, the Dream Company made some targeted changes. Let's take the tournament for the Best S2 forum as an example. They had prepared a separate server for this forum. Even if tens of millions of accounts flooded in at the same time, or even posted at the same time, it would definitely not collapse. Things like hacker attacks and software spam were also within the scope of prevention. The Dream Company posted a pinned post on every channel of the forum. Before and after the tournament of the Best S2, all topics related to the tournament will be transferred to the relevant discussion area. It was obviously very difficult for the moderator to handle this operation alone. Reading, reviewing, and moving posts all required time. If there were a lot of posts in a short period of time, the moderator would not be able to handle it at all. Luckily, there were optical computers in this era. Most of the screening and categorization work could be done by optical computers. The moderators only needed to clean up the fish that escaped the net. This should be it. Feng Bujue opened the forum and glanced at it. He then entered the post, official summary of the tournament rules. This post prohibited anyone other than the moderators from replying. There were a lot of content and it was more than 10 stories long. Naturally, Brother Ju, who was a reader, would not miss a single line. First, there was the part about registration. This tournament uses a group registration system. Starting from midnight on the 8th of August, players can fill in the registration form on the main screen of any meeting room. Teams that meet any of the following criteria are eligible to register. 1. The team has one or more level 50 player and the rest of the team members are level 40, inclusive, and above. 2. The average level of the team members is level 44. 3. The team members have reached level 45 and the remaining 2 members have reached level 40. They each have 2A level, inclusive, and above mastery. These criteria are quite reasonable. Feng Bujue read the post. The third criteria should be to take care of players who specialize in medicine or workmanship or players who rely on puzzles to gain a foothold. These people's leveling speed might be slower than the mainstream combat-type players. He continued to read, registration has to be done under the premise that 5 players are in the same party. The name of the team and the name of the team will be filled in by the team leader. After all the team members have confirmed this, the registration form will be submitted. 5 people, huh? Feng Bujue thought to himself. This is already more than the limit of 3v3 in the killing game. What should I do about the tactical practice? The content that followed answered his question. After the application is submitted, the system will complete the review of the registration form within 5 minutes. The team that passes the review will be considered a successful registration, and all the members of the team will be unlocked tournament for the best S2 practice mode. Oh, so it's a practice mode. As he spoke, Feng Bujue had already moved the cursor to the 4th layer of the post. Tournament for the best S2 practice mode. This mode only supports 4v4 matches between the registered teams of tournament for the best S2. This mode does not provide terror points or rewards, but the rule of forced disconnection when the terror points are too high applies. This mode has the possibility of triggering any world building or mission. The size and layout of the map will be randomly generated based on the power of both players. In this mode, players can only observe their teammates' IGN, level, and life status in the Team tab. All information about their enemies will be blocked. The EXP, game coins, and skill points provided by this mode are similar to killing mode, but the rate of obtaining items and skills will be lower than normal survival mode. It is similar to new player mode. The rules of team survival mode will still apply to this mode. If you are not familiar with these rules, please click the link below. What's going on? For V4? Feng Bujue was startled. Isn't the registration requirement to be a 5-man team? He quickly returned to the top of the post and continued reading. This competition will be a 4v4 match. For each round, the registered teams can adjust their lineup and choose any 4 members from the 5 to fight. When this rule entered Brother Ju's eyes, he noticed something. This is interesting, he mumbled to himself. Different team members can come up with different combinations of tactics. This way, the analysis and planning before the competition will most likely be part of the outcome of the competition. Instantly, a rather unfriendly smile appeared on his face. It was as if he could see the frustration of many people who had been tricked by him. At midnight on the 10th of August, tournament for the best S2 practice mode will be officially opened. Then, teams who have unlocked the mode will be able to join the queue for matchmaking. At midnight on the 30th of August, the mode will be closed again. The official preliminary mode will be opened soon after that. From midnight on the 8th of August to midnight on the 30th of August, all team leaders who have registered will have one chance to submit a member change request. Other than team leaders, all team members will have one chance to submit a member change request. After midnight on the 30th of August, all team names will be locked and cannot be changed. I see. Feng Bujue read the paragraph. First, before midnight on the 10th, players will be given 2 days to form a team. Then, in the remaining 20 days, these teams will be given time to practice and familiarize themselves with each other. Every player will also be given a chance to choose a new team. This way, at least most teams will be able to form a lineup that they are satisfied with. The preliminary mode, tentative name, will be based on a point system. The specific starting time and rules will be announced at midnight on the 30th of August. The total duration of the preliminary is estimated to be 50 days. There are no VIP players in this competition. The finalists will be based on the points accumulated and will be decided by the photon computer. The competition process will be completely open, transparent, and fair. Haha! Feng Bujua laughed. Fair my *SS. Last time, you invited me directly. This time, you gave me a spoiler in advance. Aren't you embarrassed? When he said this, he intentionally raised his voice. The next second, Arthas, who was sleeping on the sofa, yawned and said, I know what you're trying to do. Don't waste your energy, Meow. Are you talking to me? Feng Bujua turned his head and pretended to be dumb. You pretended to be careless and said something that might affect Woody. Then, you deliberately let me hear it. Arthas exposed Brother Ju directly. You want to use this to test whether, under similar circumstances, I will go to him and tell on him or not. If I do, you can use this as an opportunity to use me, to pass on some information that you want him to hear. If you don't, you can think of other ways to test him further. After Feng Bujua heard this, he shrugged. TSK. I've been seen through. Continue to browse the forum, Meow. Arthas said lazily. Don't think that just because you've reached level 50, Brother Ju reached the maximum level on the 5th of August, you can rest easy. This S2 competition will be much more difficult than S1. You'd better prepare in advance. After that, she wagged her tail and turned her head to sleep again. I'll do my best, Feng Bujua replied and turned his gaze back to the monitor. The content listed in the post was what everyone was looking forward to, the prize. Chapter 8:11. Prizes. Other than the prizes for the finals, there are also generous prizes prepared for the teams that placed at the top of the preliminary round. Currently, the prizes for the finals are being kept a secret. The prizes for the preliminary round are as follows. As expected, Feng Bujua said. For a competition based on team structure like this, there might be teams who purposely hide their true strength during the preliminary round so that they can gain an advantage during the finals. In this kind of situation, setting up some prizes for the teams that placed at the top will serve as a form of motivation for those who hid their true strength. The teams that placed at the top 100 in the preliminary round will each receive 1 million game coins and a limited edition t-shirt. That's not too bad. Feng Bujua did the math in his mind. If converted into RMB, it's about 500 renminbi plus a shirt that can be sold online for several hundred to 1,000 RMB. From the distribution of the prizes, there are many teams that will be participating in the finals. There must be more than 100 teams. The teams that have accumulated the most points in the preliminary round will each receive 2 random excellent quality equipment that corresponds to their level and the chance to experience the new expansion of Thriller Paradise, Ragnarok, for a limited time of 48 hours. What the F***ck? Feng Bujua was shocked when he read that. They announced the name of the new expansion directly. What is with this limited time experience? In other words, by the end of October at the latest, they will be able to prepare an independent, updated version of the server that players can access? His speculation was still too cautious. In fact, the development of the Twilight of the Gods was completed not long after version 1.10, the Anomaly Invasion, was released. This limited-time experience was nothing more than a gimmick, to use the existing resources as a bonus. This is getting interesting. Feng Bujua thought about it for a few seconds and smiled. This is going to force the gaming studios to their death. His mind moved quickly, and he soon reached that level. The meaning of these 48 hours for casual players and gaming studios was completely different. Any studio that was slightly more popular would understand how much of an advantage it would bring to them if they could experience the content in advance before the version update. That's a smart move, Fong Bujue commented. In this way, those professional teams will spare no effort to fight for a place in the top 50. If someone wants to preserve their strength or something, they have to make a choice. For example, those large studios that have the ability to send multiple teams to participate in the competition have to reconsider the strength of the second and third teams. Thinking of this, Brother Ju became even more interested in the next prize. Then, he continued to read, for the top 10 teams in the preliminaries, the team members who have yet to reach the middle level will be promoted to the maximum level immediately. Each team member will receive a piece of perfect-grade equipment. F***CK. Fong Bujue widened his eyes and said, as expected of the devil, each of the questions hit the soft spot of human nature. He shook his head. After looking at the prizes, even I want to give it my all in the preliminaries. I have a feeling that if I'm ranked outside the top 100, I'll be left behind. Creak. At this moment, the bedroom door suddenly opened. Huh. It's so early in the morning. What are you mumbling about? Ruo Yu yawned and walked out of the room with sleepy eyes. She was wearing a set of pink pajamas, and her left shoulder and collarbone were exposed. Her medium-length hair was messy, and she had the image of a sloppy girl. After these few days of getting along, Fong Bujue had grasped some of Ruo Yu's living habits, so he was used to the scene in front of him. Fong Bujue looked at her and replied in a very normal tone, you go brush your teeth and wash your face first. I've brought breakfast back, we'll talk later while we eat. Oh. Ruo Yu heard this and responded. Then, she rubbed her eyes, dragged her bunny slippers, and wiped all the way into the bathroom and closed the door. Before Ruo Yu moved in, Brother Ju had always thought that, putting aside her social problems and some personality flaws, it would not be an exaggeration to call Ruo Yu a goddess. However, after these 3 days, he found that things were not quite what he had imagined. Of course, it was not to say that Ruo Yu had any terrible shortcomings, but Fong Bujue had a vague feeling that Ruo Yu had many habits in her daily life that were surprisingly similar to his. If conditions allowed, she would feel uncomfortable if she did not sleep for 8 hours. She needed a lot of determination to get out of bed, so when she first got up, she would be very angry for a few minutes. She liked to squeeze toothpaste from the middle. She did not wash her hair if she did not shower. She hated to go downstairs to take out the trash. She liked to cook more than she liked to clean up, but once she started to clean up, she would show misophobia, and so on and so on. Fong Bujue had grown up, but this was the first time he lived with someone other than his parents. It was also the first time he lived with a young woman under the same roof. Arthas obviously did not belong to the first 2 situations. He originally thought that after adding such a roommate, he would at least have to go through a period of adaptation to get rid of the restraint, awkwardness, and disharmony between the 2 of them. However, he did not know why. After living with Ruo Yu for a few days, Fong Bujue felt that everything was very natural. They had a lot of the same habits, they had a lot of the same hobbies, and there were certain differences in their personalities. However, they were very compatible with each other. He was very comfortable, and she was also very comfortable. Just like what we often said at the dinner table, adding another person was just adding another pair of chopsticks. Brother Ju now had this feeling. He didn't know what was going on either. Perhaps he had just gotten used to the loneliness of being alone and treated it as a normal state. Perhaps he had just realized that it was good to have a like-minded person as his companion. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Fong Bujue and Ruo Yu had both finished their breakfast and were lying in their respective gaming cabins. Ruo Yu's gaming cabin was undoubtedly the deluxe version. Fortunately, Brother Ju's living room had more space. The 2 cabins were placed side by side and could still fit in. A welcome to our company's products. Scanning has begun, please wait a moment. Scanning has been completed. Confirm citizen ID. SH13 ***** 313. Name, Fong Bujue. Access device. NL 2055 Deluxe Single-Player Gaming Cabin. No abnormal external hardware detected. Heart and lung functions are normal. Nerve connection program is ready. Please select the type of access. Access type is non-sleeping mode. Adjustment complete. Please confirm to load the game or return to the superior option. Program started. Loading game in 10 seconds. After a series of familiar voice prompts, Fong Bujue appeared in the login lobby. Now, he was also a level 50 player. Even though he did not train the last few levels properly and mainly relied on the extra EXP to level up, Brother Ju's ability was undeniable. Be it his basic attributes, skills, equipment, soul's eye, or sorcery weapon in terms of raw power, he could be ranked among the top 50 players in the game. At this point in the semi-cursive script, everyone must have had a vague premonition. That's right, the next content was Fong Bujue, level 50 title. The Sly Schemes, title ability. Divine Foresight, experience points, skill points, 3,184 game coins, 215-2000. Mastery. General ability A, workmanship A, sleuthing C, fighting S, marksmanship C, medic D, sorcery A, summoning B. Inventory, 2125 compound anti-gravity gun, Bell of Gene Gang, life points recovery potion, M. X5, endless grenade box, WJQ 308 military shovel, indestructible type. X1, deceitful pocket watch, blade of absolute defense, Chuck Norris's razor, oxygen pipe, siren, wind, forest, mountain, thunder, Blackbeard's skull, the sealed one's right foot, the sealed one's left foot, the sealed one's right wrist, the sealed one's left wrist equipment. Death poker, sorcery weapon, Artemis's embrace, alchemist king's taunt, void walk, phantom madam's caress, Bale's daily knife, smiling noodles, I_wanna_B_ a belt. Storage, 315 Poker Man, Hero ID card, puzzle card. Sweater, puzzle card, tears. Skills column, 1/12 Mechatalk Power Spiritual Body Enhancement Technique Demon King Inferno Jeparankyaka Sandstorm Tri-Beam Wild Ball Fist LV10 Devilish Child's Lower Whip Kick Telepathic Finger Summoning Technique Musashi Summon Technique Unequipped Skills. Ice Alchemist's Persistence. Not So Hasty Repair, Southern Dipper Flying Dragon Fist. These were the stats that Fong Bujue gained after maxing out his level. Looking at the stats, they were quite beautiful. But if one were to say that they were beautiful or overpowered, they were not. If one were to compare them from God's perspective, the top players in the big gaming studios, in terms of equipment and skill quality, were one level higher than Fong Bujue's. If one were to say what advantage Brother Ju had, it would be that his mastery growth was more balanced, and he had more strategic equipment and skills. Yo, everyone! When Brother Ju walked into the conference room, Xiao Tan, Xiao Ling, and Hannah Jian were already sitting at the table. He greeted them energetically. Long time no see. Yeah, it's been almost half a month, Xiao Ling said. Other than Xiao Tan, Brother Ju had not seen the other two online for a long time. What classmate? Are you a middle school teacher? Hannah Jian replied. Actually, I wanted to be a middle school teacher before, Fong Bujue replied. It was the idea that came to you after watching GTO. Ruo Yu's voice was heard. She entered the conference room right after Brother Ju. Yes, Fong Bujue turned to look at her and admitted. What's wrong with that? Ruo Yu walked past Brother Ju and sat down at the table. If you want to be a teacher, you have to graduate from middle school first. That's a good comment. Xiao Tan replied loudly. What's so good about that? Fong Bujue narrowed his eyes. You learned that from me. Scumbag, Ruo Yu added. Fong Bujue was shocked. You scolded him? Yes. The next second Ruo Yu's eyes were filled with shame and panic. I said what was on my mind and the system didn't block me? This proves two things. Hana Jian raised his hand and extended two fingers. 1. Bujue is indeed thick-skinned. Secondly, even the system feels that what Ruo Yu said makes sense. And who taught you to speak like that? Feng Bujue glanced at Hana Jian from the corner of his eyes. What's wrong with my words? Hana Jian asked. Before Brother Ju could answer, Ruo Yu said, it sounds like someone's character, Hana Jian's face blushed. After a few seconds, she put on an angry expression and slammed the table. Damn it! I must have been mentally corrupted when I was reviewing the manuscripts. Whose manuscripts are you talking about? Feng Bujue raised his voice and stood up. I'm talking about whoever answered me. Hana Jian replied. You. Brother Ju hesitated. He thought about it and sat down. Oh well, as the saying goes, a good man doesn't fight with a woman. As soon as he finished speaking, chips were thrown at his face, kicked, and even pinched. Where are the system guards? Feng Bujue shouted. Why aren't they here yet? Where is the law? Brother Ju, stop acting cute. Xiao Tan said. If the system guards really come, it'll be because of what you said earlier. You'll be the one who will be killed. Okay, then I'll talk about something more serious. Feng Bujue said as he brushed the chips off his body. He leaned forward, placed his elbows on the table, and crossed his fingers before his lip. After putting on this signature pose, Brother Ju revealed a cold gaze and said in a low voice, about the tournament for the best S2, everyone has heard about it, right? I knew leader was going to talk about that. Xiao Ling was the first to reply. We discussed it before you came. Hana Jian said, what a coincidence. I just reached level 40 yesterday. Xiao Tan added, since Brother Ju is at max level, the 5 of us can form a team. The 3 of them spoke one after another, and they told Feng Bujue everything that he wanted to hear and say. At that moment, Ruo Yu inadvertently revealed a smile and turned to look at Brother Ju. Looks like you don't need to worry about your classmates anymore. Ha! Feng Bujue also laughed. Very good. He lifted his head. If no one has any objections, I will not hesitate to take on the role of the leader of this underworld frontline. Chapter 8:12. Of course, I have no problem with that. No matter how I look at it, you are the most suitable person to handle this kind of problem. Xiao Ling was the first to agree. Xiao Ling was the kind of person who was smart but did not like to come up with ideas. If others had questions for her, she was willing to think and answer them, but she was too lazy to think too much about it. In conclusion, she was not the type to be a leader. I have no problem with that either. Xiao Tan was like Big Bad Wolf. No matter what Xiao Ling said, he would quickly agree and not waste any time. I agree wholeheartedly as well. Hua Jian looked at Brother Ju and said, ever since the revival contest of I Am a Writer was broadcasted, your popularity has increased significantly. Even though your fan base is different from the mainstream readers, you still have quite a large market share. Recently, the upper management of the company has been considering further promotion for you to increase the sales and influence of our magazine among consumers with unique tastes. Once the topic was related to work, she would turn into an intelligent and hard-working person. I think with the popularity of Thriller Paradise, if you can make a name for yourself in this contest like last time, it will no doubt be a good promotion for the magazine. If that is the case, if I lead the team and get a good ranking, it will save the company a lot of advertising money? Brother Ju narrowed his eyes and looked at Misson. He asked a very realistic question. Then, will the company give me a bonus? Hua Jian hesitated for a moment. Her reaction was basically equivalent to saying, no. I can treat you to a meal in my own name. Hua Jian thought about it for a few seconds and said, then I can reimburse the company, forget it. Feng Bujue smiled. I'm just kidding. Then, Brother Ju turned to Ryu. Then, what do you think? I think you can take on the role of team leader. I'm not interested. Ryu interrupted Brother Ju. I don't think I'm good enough to be the captain. She regained her killer's cold expression and continued in a very calm and objective tone, whether it's decision-making, leadership, adaptability, or the overall situation. I'm not as good as you, not to mention analytical ability and courage. Haha. Actually, even if you're not as good as me, it doesn't mean that you're bad. Feng Bujue even said politely to her, as long as your overall ability reaches a certain level, you can also do it. I know, Ryu continued, but you have another characteristic that I can't compare to. She glanced at her companions and finally looked back at her brother Ju. Don't tell me you're trying to say that I have no integrity. Feng Bujue replied as he broke out in a cold sweat under the other party's stare. What I wanted to say was that your mentality and ability to withstand pressure in the face of adversity are very strong. The worse the situation, the more it inspires your fighting spirit. You can react in a way that others wouldn't even think of in that situation and turn the only chance of a comeback into a possibility. When Ryu said this, she changed the topic. Of course. After you reminded me, I realized that having no moral integrity is also one of the criteria. Okay, Feng Bujue looked up at the ceiling and imitated Crown Prince Xingda's tone. Is this your newest method to resolve the awkwardness? Xiao Tan's mouth twitched. The next second, Brother Ju switched back to the face of a commander and said in a deep voice, All right, since no one has any objections, I will not shirk my responsibility. You sure know how to change your emotions so quickly. Xiao Tan grumbled. Brother Ju ignored him and continued, A competition is a competition. It's not the same as a random dungeon run. If you want to advance and get a ranking, there's only one way, and that's to win. His tone sounded very serious and the topic seemed to be moving in a more serious direction. At this moment, the four teammates stopped interrupting and listened to Brother Ju seriously. As the team leader, it's my responsibility to lead you to victory. As he said this, Brother Ju's gaze slowly moved across the faces of his teammates. And as a team member, what you need to do is to trust and obey my commands. You need to do your best to complete the task I give you. That's enough. You don't need to say these things. Everyone in our team knows the big picture. No matter how much they despise your character, they'll give you face during the competition. Ryu added. That's right. I thought you were going to say something else. Hua Jian added, but it's all nonsense. During the monthly meeting at the office, I've heard similar things so many times that I've almost gotten sick of them. If you want to boost morale, at least pick a good line. Don't use those lousy lines and lines from American sports movies. F***CK. Feng Bujue's serious face instantly disappeared. He sat up straight and returned to his usual sloppy self. Good lines, right? I have plenty of them. His tone and speed increased. The person who controls the rebound can control the game. That's a basketball game. Xiao Ling narrowed her eyes. Dominate the country. This isn't a tournament. You're not representing the district, right? Hua Jian said. Yaha. That's not even a line anymore. Xiao Tan complained. And the event seems to have changed to American football. Wait a minute. How do I know that? Anyway. After being mocked by his teammates, Feng Bujue's Chunibu level dropped a little. He finally got down to business. In order to lead everyone to a good result, as the team leader, I've decided. He tapped the table lightly with his finger. We'll have another team practice match, so that I can better understand everyone's ability in actual combat. After all that, that's it? Ryu continued calmly. Okay, I'm also curious. How strong are you when you're at max level? That's perfect. I also want to see how far I can go in PvP. Hua Jian said. Guild leader, I've improved a lot. Don't be surprised. Xiao Ling smiled slyly. Only Xiao Tan looked troubled. He laughed dryly. Ha ha. Everyone seems so confident. Chapter 813. Feng Bujue, Level 50. Wang Tanji, Level 46. Like Rain, Level 47. Laughing Soul, Level 46. Flower on the Rock, Level 40. Please select the game mode that you wish to join. You have selected Killing Game, Indiscriminate Free-for-All. Please confirm. Confirmed. The number of team members has been randomized, 6. TSK. In the end, I was matched with an outsider. When the random number appeared before his eyes, Feng Bujue sighed helplessly. Sigh. Oh well, since it's a free-for-all, so be it. Matching complete. Coordinating nerve connection. Generating scenario. Downloading, please wait a moment. At that point, the players lost control of their bodies, and they were teleported. This time, to see the individual combat ability of each member of Underworld Frontline, Feng Bujue set the practice match as a free-for-all mode. In such a complicated battle situation where everyone was fighting for themselves and restraining each other, it was easier to force everyone to unleash their maximum strength. Make your opponents tremble in fear, let them experience true terror. Soon, a low, thick, and accented male voice opened the game. His voice sounded familiar to Brother Ju, and a bad feeling rose in his heart. Loading complete. You are currently playing the Killing Game. A scenario introduction is provided in this mode, and there is a chance to trigger hidden side missions and special world building. Reward for winning the scenario, Puzzle Card X1. Playing the scenario introduction soon. The game will start after that. Once the voice stopped, the cinematic started to play. The scene that appeared in front of the players was a dark, stormy sky. Abyss appears in the demon city. Mad Shadow leads his army. Wishing to survive the calamity of the common people, Unparalleled settles the flames of war. Hey! Another poem. This is bad. Feng Bujue really did not want to see this, but it had happened. Then, the thunderclouds before his eyes started to swirl, and a bottomless whirlpool appeared in the clouds. Amid the flickering lightning and dark energy, a large castle slowly descended from the sky. Please. I don't care if you're the demon city. Please don't be that thing, Feng Bujue said. But based on the appearance of this Japanese-style castle, I'm afraid it is. Elites, come and challenge me. The voice that had spoken the opening lines appeared once again, followed by a pair of demonic eyes that appeared in the air. It was a pair of different colored eyes, one red and one green. They were like the eyes of a snake, and the pupils were straight lines. So, it is you. Feng Bujue had noticed it earlier, but now he was certain that the owner of the voice was none other than Orochi, the main antagonist in the standalone game, Muzu Orochi, developed by Kaolei. He was a snake demon who was imprisoned by the heavenly realm. He escaped from the heavenly realm and came to the human world. He gathered the heroes from China's Three Kingdoms period and Japan's Warring States period into a dimension that he created, hoping to find someone who could rival him. Several seconds later, a fast-paced music played with an electric guitar as the main note. The cinematic changed to focus on a group of military tents in the middle of a desert. Then, it will play the plot of the lords of the generals being defeated and imprisoned, Feng Bujue said. Naturally, he had played the unparalleled Orochi before, and the opening of each game was similar. What happened next confirmed his conjecture. In the next minute, many generals from the unparalleled Orochi series appeared in the cinematic, such as the three brothers of the Peach Garden, the three hooligans of the Chow family, the three fathers and sons of the Fierce Tigers, etc. Of course, there were also shameless characters like Lu Xiaochang and Zhua Dexian. Accompanied by the dynamic soundtrack, The demon army led by Orochi defeated them one by one like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. Then, the generals from the warring states period also appeared. So, it was another minute of the same plot. Seeing this, Fong Bujua thought that there was no more then, but, the next second, the camera panned to a group of people with different styles. At that moment, Fong Bujue could not believe his eyes. These people are... Brother Ju was shocked because he saw a group of people with long, flowing hair and strange appearances. From their attire to their weapons, they were completely different from the people from before. Even the people from the world of lightning have been brought here? He was still in shock. After the characters in the Thunderbolt world experienced a minute of CG killing, something even more ridiculous happened. There are more? Fong Bujue was surprised to see another group of people with different styles appear. This time, the ones who were tortured by Orochi's army were a group of gorgeous 2D Japanese characters. When Brother Ju saw a red-haired man with a waning moon on his back, he already knew the people from the King of Fighters world were also here. Then, more and more characters appeared in the cinematic. They all came from different universes, and even some comedic characters appeared without any sense of disharmony. Looking at these gods appearing one by one, Fong Bujue did not even have the desire to complain. The ominous premonition had turned into a terrible reality. The severity of this killing game was something that even Brother Ju could not estimate. The Demon King has arrived. As this cinematic that was close to 10 minutes in length came to an end, the system narration came. Orochi, who was resurrected from the abyss of hell once again, has obtained unfathomable and terrifying power. Whether it is the powerful people of the human world or the celestial world, it is difficult for them to compete with him. In order to find opponents who can match him, the Demon King has expanded the alternate dimension that he controls to various dimensions, causing many worlds to collapse and suffering. The powerful people from various dimensions, in order to protect their respective worlds, in order to escape this alternate dimension that is filled with endless slaughter, fought with all their might. However, the demon army is ultimately too powerful. In terms of military strength, they have no chance. Therefore, the Demon King gladly gave them a chance to directly challenge him. A martial arts tournament is held under the Demon City. The cinematic came to an abrupt end. The main quest has been triggered. Win the martial arts tournament. The moment the players regained their mobility, they heard the notification of the main quest. Regardless of the quest, Fong Bujue's first reaction after he could move was to observe his surroundings. At this moment, he was standing on a rocky hill, and above him was the hazy sky with rolling thunderclouds. Even though it was cloudy, the visibility was still acceptable. Brother Bujue looked around, but there was no living thing in sight. He wondered if there was anything hidden behind the rocks. There seems to be a problem with this quest. After confirming his surroundings, he found a place nearby and squatted under the shadow of a rock. After hiding himself, he called out the game menu. In the killing game, the players could see the ID, level, and survival status of their teammates and opponents through the Team tab. At this moment, the 5 people that Fong Bujue saw were all in the survival status. There was no need to mention the names and levels of his 4 teammates, and the 6th person who was matched in the queue was also someone he was familiar with. 7 kills. TSK. This guy is maxed out as well. This was Fong Bujue's first reaction when he saw the Team tab. Even though it was a department under 9 Sciences, Blades was still a gaming studio in name. Their people had to at least act like professional players. Therefore, the current 7 kills was naturally a maxed-out player. This is not easy to deal with. Fong Bujue mumbled. If we're talking about a one-on-one, this fighting maniac is one of the few opponents that I least wish to face. He thought to himself. The time I defeated him in a one-on-one, it was obviously due to luck. And Xiao Tan, technically speaking, he won because of seed. Now that he's level 50, he probably has already mastered Soul's Eye. In this kind of situation, if I were to face him head-on, I might be beaten to a pulp. It was not that Brother Bujue was trying to boost his opponent's morale, but Feng Bujue was usually more cautious and pessimistic when he considered problems. And this quest, it doesn't feel right either. Brother Ju immediately opened the quest tab and mumbled softly, "Normally, in this kind of killing game royale, the main quest is to be the only surviving player in the scenario, right? How come this time it's to win the martial arts tournament?" Just as he was thinking, suddenly, there was a scream coming from afar. This scream made Feng Bujue's hair stand on end, because he could tell that the voice belonged to Wang Tongji. "The kid's teleportation point is so close to me?" Brother Ju instantly jumped up and turned toward the direction of the scream. And he just entered the scenario, and he already triggered a battle? He was not wrong. Xiao Tan's teleportation point was that close to him, and he was unlucky enough to run into one of Lu Ji's generals. To put it simply, once Wang Tongji entered the scenario, he ran into a mini-boss monster. What's going on? 2 seconds later, in Feng Bujue's sight, a running or rather, escaping figure appeared. Behind the figure was a short, fat, gray-skinned humanoid monster with a long spear in his hand, and a squad of demonic soldiers that numbered more than 100. "Are you kidding me?" Xiao Tan shouted as he ran. "What have I done? Why are you chasing me? You said that fatty earlier, didn't you? I heard you." The demonic soldier that was chasing behind him was clearly angered. He shouted as he ran, and his murderous aura was boiling. Chapter 8:14. 2 minutes ago, after Wang Tongji finished watching the opening cinematic and listening to the mission notification, he regained his ability to move. Coincidentally, his initial teleportation point happened to be in front of a group of demon soldiers. Originally, the group of demon soldiers was resting under the lead of their commander, Dragon. Unexpectedly, a white light suddenly appeared in front of the formation. A second later, a man wearing a Renaissance assassin suit suddenly appeared in front of them. Seeing this, the few demon soldiers closest to Xiao Tan immediately stepped forward with their spears and surrounded him. They asked in a guarded tone, "Who are you?" Xiao Tan's reaction was not slow. Through the cinematic, he already knew that this group of fierce demons in front of him, the size of the demon soldiers was similar to humans, their skin was greenish-gray, their hair was white, their eyes were yellow, their ears were pointed, their mouths had sharp teeth, and their nails were also sharp, were the small fries of Yuan Lvgjun. Therefore, he thought for a few seconds and replied, "I'm here to participate in the martial arts tournament, but I'm lost. Do you know how to get to the demon city?" You're going to participate in the martial arts tournament?" The few demon soldiers looked at Xiao Tan up and down, as if they did not believe him. "If you don't know, you can get someone to come out and tell me." Xiao Tan did not want to waste time talking to these small fries. As he spoke, he scanned the enemy's formation and quickly found a guy who looked different from the rest of the small fries. The fat man over there seems to be your commander. Why don't you help me inform?" "What did you say?" Before Xiao Tan could finish, the fat man he was talking about had already turned his head, revealing a fierce gaze, and interrupted him violently. "What the hell, he can hear me from so far away," Xiao Tan whispered, "and he seems to be angry. Did I say something wrong?" This time, his reaction was a little slow. Of course, this was not entirely his fault because, generally speaking, when a man was called a fat man, his reaction would not be as big as a woman's. Most men did not mind this too much, and many people felt that names like Fatty Zhang, Fatty Wang, Fatty Xiao were quite intimate. However, the demon general that Xiao Tan met was obviously a small group of people who were extremely concerned about being called a fat man. His name was Flood Dragon. As a demon general, Flood Dragon's appearance was naturally different from those small fries. His skin was light gray, his eyes gray, his eyebrows protruded, and a pair of huge fangs protruded out of his mouth. He wore a strange mask on his face. It was shaped like a pair of special leather underwear. The lower half of the mask covered his nose, mouth, and chin below his cheekbones. There were 2 holes for his fangs to pass through. The upper half of the mask was in the shape of an inverted triangle. It covered the top of his head and extended to the back of his head. Flood Dragon was not bald. On the back of his head, there was a bunch of scallion-like braids. His shoulders were covered with a pair of black shoulder pads. The straps on both sides of the shoulder pads converged in front of his chest and connected to a hump-shaped armor on his stomach. By the way, objectively speaking, he was indeed a fat man. Although his exposed chest muscles and biceps were well developed, his short stature and big belly made him look like a demon version of Dwarf Tiger, a character in Water Margin. "You bastard! Do you know who I am?" Flood Dragon saw that Xiao Tan had no intention of repentance, so he immediately shouted, "Do you want to die?" "What the hell did I do?" Xiao Tan narrowed his eyes, still confused. "You still dare to pretend?" Flood Dragon's patience had reached its limit. "I'll skin you alive." Back to the present. This is inexplicable. Wang Tongji ran wildly on the wilderness. Just because I called you a fat man. Is it necessary? You said it again. Flood Dragon was very sensitive to the word fat man, so he roared angrily, "Guys! Follow me! Cut him into pieces!" Yes. The demon soldiers behind Flood Dragon roared as they received the order, and their momentum became stronger. Humph! It seems that it's useless to reason with them. Xiao Tan thought, I'd better speed up. If I run seriously, they won't be able to catch up with me. Thinking of this, he exerted force on his feet and ran faster. In the blink of an eye, he had rushed into the rocky hill in front of him. This is a good opportunity. Looking at the panicked Xiao Tan, Feng Bujue hesitated and muttered, "Should I make a move?" Here, to avoid any misunderstanding, I have to explain. Brother Ju's make a move was not help, but take advantage of the situation to sneak attack. Humph! After 2 seconds, Feng Bujue seemed to have made up his mind. He snorted coldly and said, "I was too soft-hearted. What's there to hesitate about? I should have let him experience the cruelty of a team battle. What he did seemed to be heartless, but it was understandable. In a real competition, such a sneak attack was a common occurrence. The opponent would not let you go just because you were being chased by a group of NPCs. Being taught a lesson by one's own people was better than being taught a lesson by an outsider in a competition. Thinking of this, Brother Ju decided to launch a merciless sneak attack on Xiao Tan. However, at this moment, something unexpected happened. "Lackeys of Yuan Luji, don't be too arrogant." A clear voice pierced through the sky, and a green and white figure appeared. The man had a brocade belt on his head, and his long hair fluttered in the wind. He was wearing a silver armor that reflected the sunlight. He wore an iron armor with tight leather straps. He stepped on flower folds, and his steps were like stars in the sky. "Zhao Zilong of Changshan is here." Zhao Yun appeared valiantly. The bravery of the dragon, Zhao Yun's weapon in the unparalleled series, in his hands spun out layers of spear shadows, blocking the advance of the demon soldiers. What the F***ck? Feng Bujue already had the grenade in his hand, but when he saw General Zhao, he put the grenade back into the magazine. Where did this come from? He could not help but raise his head to look at the sky and grumble, did someone throw in a coin? On the other side, Xiao Tan immediately stopped when he heard Zhao Yun's voice. He turned around and said in surprise, "Huh? Zhao Zilong?" In the next few seconds, many images flashed through Wang Tongji's mind. He remembered very clearly that in the unparalleled series of games, the combat power of Zhao Yun, an unparalleled general, was vastly different from that of the ordinary generals. Killing small fries was like cutting grass for him. For example, a group of about 100 demon soldiers and an ordinary general like Flood Dragon could not survive for more than a minute under Zhao Zilong's hands. I was wondering who it was. Flood Dragon sneered when he saw the person who came. Humph! The azure dragon that soars on the battlefield, is it? His tone made Feng Bujue, who was hiding in the dark, feel a little strange. What's going on? As an ordinary general, his attitude is a little arrogant. Brother Ju thought to himself. Haha, a loser dares to appear in front of me? Flood Dragon's next sentence surprised Brother Ju and Xiao Tan. A loser? Xiao Tan said doubtfully, how is this possible? I'm sorry, righteous man. In the next second, Zhao Yun turned around and responded to Xiao Tan's question. I'm not strong enough. For now. I'm not a match for Flood Dragon. He said in a low voice, however, I'm confident that I can deal with him. As he said that, he got into a fighting stance and was ready to fight. You go first. I'll take care of this. What the F***ck? Feng Bujue could only use this swear word, because he was talking to himself. The system did not block it, to express his surprise. As an unparalleled general, you admit that you can't beat the ordinary general and set up a death flag? But on Xiao Tan's side, as a person with a conscience, he would not be able to leave. Even though I have no idea what is going on. General Zhao and I have never met each other before, but he is willing to sacrifice himself to save me. How can I be so cowardly as to leave? Righteous man, you're being too serious. Zhao Yun replied. Anyone who dares to stand up against Yuan Luji is my companion. This is what I should do. That's enough. Are you two done blabbering over there? The Flood Dragon interrupted their conversation. If you have anything to say it on the road to the underworld. After saying that, he waved his arm and shouted, Little ones, go. Before his voice died away, the demon soldiers had already rushed toward Xiao Tan and Zhao Yun. The battle had already begun, so there was no need to say anything more. Perhaps it was his fighting instinct, or perhaps it was the habit of an assassin. At this moment, the first thing that came to Xiao Tan's mind was to capture the leader of the bandits. Therefore, he consciously moved closer to where the Flood Dragon was. He spread his hands, and his fist blades and military knife were ready. He used the reverse spinning slash to kill the enemy and took advantage of the momentum to attack the center of the demon soldiers. Unexpectedly, righteous man. Be careful. Before Xiao Tan's reverse spinning slash was completed, Zhao Yun's shout rang out. Unfortunately, his shout was still too late. Ping ping pang, accompanied by a series of rapid sounds, Xiao Tan's figure stopped. At this moment, he had already turned pale with fright. They blocked it. Xiao Tan was shocked. They actually blocked it all. His astonishment was understandable. Who would have thought that his high-speed, continuous spinning slashes were all blocked by the group of soldiers, and not a single one of them was able to injure anyone? Could it be? Even Feng Bujue, who was hiding and watching from afar, was shocked. These guys' combat power is all at Shura difficulty level? Shura difficulty, in the Unparalleled series. It was a type of sadistic difficulty that challenged the player's limit of reaction, patience, endurance, and strategy. In this difficulty, the enemy's attack, defense, health, block, and attack would all be strengthened to the point that it would make one's hair stand on end. Unparalleled generals who had not reached the maximum level or were not equipped with powerful equipment would usually be killed by a flurry of slashes, or perhaps a flurry of spears or arrows, from the low-level soldiers. Common-faced generals could also easily take the lives of players with a series of combos. Oh no! Looking at Xiao Tan's side after that move, he was already surrounded. The enemies were all holding long weapons, and Xiao Tan, who had stopped moving, was full of openings. Kill him! The demon soldiers naturally would not let go of this idiot who walked right into their trap. As they shouted, a few of them had already thrust their spears at him. In the blink of an eye, Zhao Yun roared like a tiger and spun around with his spear. He used his qi to forcefully open a path and arrived beside Xiao Tan. The demon soldiers were all shaken by this force and were forced to retreat, but none of them died. "Righteous man, don't be rash." Zhao Yun and Xiao Tan stood back to back and said while panting, "There are more than 100 enemies, and you. Not to mention qi, you don't even have a piece of sturdy armor on you. How could you kill your way in?" "I was wrong," Xiao Tan said sincerely. "I've dragged you down, General Zhao." He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. He thought gloomily, if I knew this would happen, I would have listened to Big Brother Yun and run away. I'm just a burden if I stay here. What on earth were those soldiers trying to do? Everyone's reaction speed can keep up with my whirlwind slash, and all of them successfully blocked my attack. Are they crazy? Are you really just small fries? Thinking of this, Xiao Tan could not help but look at General Jiao, who was outside the crowd, and shuddered. I think I understand why Zhao Yun lost to this common general. In this universe, LV Jijun's abilities are all overpowered, righteous man. Zhao Yun's voice soon sounded again, interrupting Xiao Tan's thoughts. I've already used up my unparalleled power to kill my way to your side. I'm afraid I won't have the time to protect you. I'm fine. General Zhao, you don't have to worry about me, Xiao Tan said as he activated the Heaven and Earth Inversion mantra. In the blink of an eye, his figure shot up into the sky. Because his flying action came without warning, the surrounding demon soldiers did not have time to react. When they wanted to move, Xiao Tan was already 5 or 6 meters away from the ground, and they could no longer stop him. This way, he can fight with all his strength without any scruples. Xiao Tan, who was flying in the air, looked at Zhao Yun on the ground and said, "Are you trying to run, bastard?" Just when Xiao Tan thought he could breathe a sigh of relief, the voice of Jiao suddenly appeared behind him. At this moment, Wang Tangji's blood turned cold. This guy. Xiao Tan's body moved before his thoughts. When the feeling of panic flashed through his mind, he had already raised his hand. The special effect of Altair's touch, Edge of Assassin, had been activated. Bang! A muffled sound of metal clashing came out. Xiao Tan's indestructible hidden blade blocked the sweep of Jiao's spear. But even though it blocked, Xiao Tan's life value still decreased by 9%. His arm was also numb from the shock, and his whole body fell to the ground. He is able to jump higher than me in an instant, Xiao Tan thought to himself as he flew backward in midair. And he is able to execute such a powerful attack so easily and at such a high speed, while in midair where there is nothing for him to use as leverage. A few seconds later, Wang Tangji's feet touched the ground again. Due to the effect of Heaven and Earth Inversion mantra, Xiao Tan felt like he was hit upwards. So, when he was close to the ground, his speed of retreat had slowed down a lot. Taking this opportunity, he cancelled the skill the moment he touched the ground, reversed the direction of gravity, and stood still. In addition, because Jiao's attack was not perpendicular to the ground, Xiao Tan's falling trajectory was different from his rising trajectory. When he returned to the ground, he was no longer in the battle between the demon soldiers and Zhao Yun. "Oh, not bad. You seem to be at ease," Feng Bujue, who was watching the battle from the side, said, using the enemy's attack to get out of the predicament with the least loss. He was a typical spectator who did not know the hardships of acting in the play. At this time, Xiao Tan thought in his heart, "What should I do? If it's a one-on-one, I may have a chance of winning, but it will be a Pyrrhic victory. If I escape, Zhao Yun will be in trouble. And if he dies, I will have to bear a lot of responsibility." Just as Wang Tangji was struggling with his thoughts, another uninvited guest broke into the battle. First, I hate that a talented person has no talent. Second, I hate that a beautiful woman has an unfortunate life. Before the person arrived, the poem had already sounded. The identity of the person was obvious. Third, I hate that the waves of the river never cease. Fourth, I hate that the world is cold and frigid. When he read the fourth sentence, a graceful figure had already rushed over like a bolt of lightning. Fifth, I hate that the moon platform leaks easily. Sixth, I hate that the leaves of the orchid are weak. Chi-chi. Chi-chi, the tip of the sword moved and the sword chi hummed. The sound of the sword dance was as fast as the wind, and it was followed by waves of sorrowful cries. Seventh, I hate that the pufferfish is poisonous. Eighth, I hate that the peanut is thorny. Who is it? Jiao shouted in the air and stepped down, wanting to block the tip of the sword. Ninth, I hate that there are mosquitoes in the summer night. 10th, I hate that there are squirrels hiding in the sea. Ping 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 ping, fast, one word, fast! The sword and spear clashed, bringing out a series of clashing sounds. It was as fast as lightning and as dense as rain. 11th, I hate that I have not met my match. 12th, I hate that I am invincible in the world. The poem stopped and the figure appeared. The two figures that were fighting each other stopped, and they faced each other. On one side there was a fatty. His name was Jiao, and he was much stronger than a demon general under Lu Ji. On the other side, there was a black-clothed swordsman. He wore a light purple shawl and carried a sword rack on his back. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyebrows were sharp like swords. His name was 12 Regrets of the Sword Monarch, and he was an arrogant swordsman in the lightning sword world. This play is getting more and more interesting. As a spectator, Feng Bujue was full of interest. He could not wait to get some popcorn and sit down to watch. I don't believe that Jiao can defeat an expert from the lightning world. After saying this, his expression changed slightly. Wait, that's not right. When they were fighting just now, Jiao did not fall into a disadvantageous position. Humph, a troublesome fellow has come this time. On the battlefield, Jiao opened his mouth again. But to defeat me. His confidence made Brother Ju, who was familiar with the world of Matchless and Lightning World, unable to complain. You're still 100 years too early. Chapter 8:15. Jiao was a simple name. However, behind this name there was a man who was not simple. Most of the names of the generals under Ryo Luji's command came from monsters in myths and legends. For example, the Golden Ghost, the Water Ghost, the Wind Ghost, and the Invisible Ghost were the four ghosts that Fujiwara Chiba used in Taiping-ji. The Immortal Fox, the Boar Snake, the Flying Barbarian, and so on were the monsters in Chinese legends. There were also the Aizu Shinten, the Iron Rat, the Inma Ghost, the Hidden God Ministry of Justice, and so on, a lot of Japanese monsters. Among this group of people, the Flood Dragon was considered to be quite special. His name appeared in Shu E.G., Classic of Mountains and Seas, Yunhui, and other books. He was also the only general under Ryo Luji's command who only had one word in his name. However, his uniqueness was limited to this. This was because he was not a peerless general. Instead, he was a common face general or a side character. He was called a common face because he was not the only one. There were many other generals who used the same character model as him. The reason why they were called extras was naturally because of their extremely high appearance rate and extremely low sense of presence. Perhaps very few people knew that Jiao was the leader of the demon army. Yes, the leader of the demon army was not Ryo Luji, but Jiao. For example, Ryo Luji was the lord, Daji was the military advisor, and Jiao was equivalent to the great general. Indeed, Ryo Luji had many powerful generals under his command. For example, Lu Bu, Mada Keiji, and Fuma Kotaro, they had all served Ryo Luji. Among the many peerless generals, These few were as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns. However, they had never shaken Jiao's position. Then, the question was, why? What was so special about Jiao? Let's see the next episode of Unparalleled in 3 Days and 2 Sleeps. Okay, let's write it now. Although he did not have an exclusive appearance, exclusive weapon, or even exclusive voice actor, Lord Jiao used his hard work to show us the bumpy journey of a common-face general to become the leader of the demon army. Let's look back. The Flood Dragon's admirable human, monster, demon, life experience. First of all, his origin. Flood Dragon had already appeared in the first generation of Peerless Orochi. However, everything about him seemed to be a mystery. Other than being brought to the celestial realm by Daji, everything else was unknown. His mysterious and unfathomable temperament was evident. He could be called a man like the wind. Secondly, looking at his battle achievements, after entering the celestial realm with Daji, the Flood Dragon participated in the 5 Elements Mountain Rescue Battle that unsealed Yuanlvji. In this battle, the Flood Dragon took the lead and became the vanguard of the demon army. He killed the people of the celestial world until they lost face and were utterly defeated. In the end, with the help of the Flood Dragon, Daji successfully rescued Yuanlvji, who used to be the general of the immortal army, Yinglong. It could be said that without the Flood Dragon, there wouldn't be the story of Wushuang Orochi. After Yuanlvji broke the seal and left the immortal world, Jiao Jiao's battle achievements were even more splendid, and he made many heroic contributions. As a short and fat man with an indomitable spirit, he could be said to be loyal to Yuanlvji. Although his strength was not enough, he still went through fire and water, and followed him everywhere. In the countless battles with the heroes of the 3 kingdoms and the Warring States period, we could all see Jiao Jiao's vigorous figure. His classic line when he was defeated and fled, "You can struggle as much as you want," was deeply engraved in the hearts of every unparalleled hero, and it was like a nightmare. Not long after that, a serious challenge appeared in front of Jiao. When Yuanlvji swept away the forces of the 3 kingdoms and the Warring States period, the fierce people of the celestial world came one after another in order to hunt down this fugitive. The Battle of the Crimson River, Peerless Orochi, the final battle of Yuanlvji's forces, from Yuanlvji to the celestial world army, began in this battle. In the face of a great disparity in military strength, Jiao Jiao still calmly dealt with it, bravely killing the enemy and successfully repelled the attack of the Celestial World Army together with Yuanlvji and Daji. After this battle, Jiao Jiao could be said to be famous, and in the 3 realms, everyone was afraid of him. However, the good times did not last long. Daji-chan had already seen through everything, because she was worried that Jiao Jiao would shake her position. This vicious woman advised Yuanlvji to hold a mock battle in White Emperor City, in order to provoke the friendship between Yuanlvji and Jiao Jiao. The result of this battle ended with Jiao Jiao being killed instantly. Although Jiao Jiao lost, his courage to challenge King Yuanlvji became a legend in the demon army, and foreshadowed the demon rebellion war that followed. After the simulated battle at White Emperor City, some time had passed. The peerless generals that had been scattered all over the place had regrouped and finally charged back to Ancient Wisdom City, blowing the horn for the decisive battle of Ancient Wisdom City. In the unfavorable situation where the army was about to collapse, Jiao Jiao defended the north gate of Guji City with his own strength, and fought against the united army formed by Wei, Shu, Wu, Zhang Jiao, Oda, Yusuji, Takeda, Nakajima, Minamoto Yashitsugu, Lubu, Honda, 3 celestials of the celestial world. Unfortunately, Yuanlvji lost in the end. Before Yuanlvji was revived, the real power of the demon army fell into the hands of Taira Kayamori and Daji. Because he couldn't stand the domineering behavior of the two, Jiao Jiao finally couldn't stand it anymore, and raised the flag and declared himself king. At that time, Shutendaji, Ox Demon, Hundred-Eyed Demon and other demon generals were all attracted by Jiao Jiao's charisma, and they all became his subordinates. Finally, after many trials and tribulations, Yuanlongji was revived. Upon hearing this news, the loyal Jiao Jiao disbanded the Jiao army and returned to Yuanlongji's camp, willing to be a subordinate. Unfortunately, under the encirclement of many unparalleled heroes, Yuanlongji was defeated again. After that, the fox demon Tamamonome used the revival of Yuanlongji as an excuse to recruit the remaining demon army for her own use. Some of the demons led by Daji fell into the trap, and only Jiao Jiao remained clean and didn't associate himself with the fox demon. He could be said to be the model of a gentleman among the demons. Now Yuanlongji was revived again, and he became the strongest in history. Yuanlongji who could cross space, transcend dimensions, and become truly unparalleled. Lord Jiao, who returned to his master's side, as the most popular face in the demon army, what kind of legend would he write? On the barren plains, among the rocks, two arrogant figures stood facing each other. Sword King 12 Regrets held two swords in his hands, and his vast sword energy showed his outstanding sword realm. Jiao Jiao stood upright with his spear, and his dense demonic energy showed that he was a diviner. What's wrong? Come, I'm standing right here, and I'll let you have 3 moves first. Jiao Jiao saw that the other party didn't have the intention to attack, so he provoked him. His attitude was very calm, and it didn't seem like he was deliberately mystifying things. Instead, it seemed like he had a card up his sleeve. Arrogant demon army. Today, I'll let you witness my sword realm. Sword King 12 Regrets was also a straightforward person. Although he wouldn't be angered by words, he wouldn't allow the enemy to be so arrogant. As he finished speaking, murderous intent appeared, and battle energy appeared. Sword King 12 Regrets activated his true essence angrily, and in an instant, the 4 swords of gentle wind, soaring earth, Wuqi, and Wuqiong were used together, and he suddenly attacked with the move, riding wind and breaking waves. Using this move meant that he wanted to finish it quickly. On the other side, just as the sword energy was about to reach him, Jiao Jiao's eyes turned cold, and he threw out the spear in his hand. Ordinary spinning strike. In the next second, Jiao Jiao shouted the name of his move, raised the spear in front of him, and spun it at high speed. Although the name of his move was not worth mentioning compared to his opponent's, his combat power was real. The spear in his hand spun like the wing of a helicopter, and it was like an airtight round shield. None of the 4 swords that were wrapped in sharp sword energy could break through this layer of defense. Seeing this scene, Xiao Tan, who was watching the battle from the side, couldn't help but feel a chill down his spine, and he was shocked. This fatty is going against the heavens. As a side character, is it really okay for you to be so strong? At the same time, Brother Ju, who was hiding in the shadows further away, also thought to himself, what's going on with this scenario? Isn't this more ridiculous than the nightmare difficulty? If the common face in Yuan Lvg's army is so scary, then Yuan Lvg himself is going to explode at any moment? Chapter 8:16. While 12 Regrets and Flood Dragon attacked, on the other side, Zhao Yun's battle was getting better and better. 12 Regrets' appearance changed the situation of the battle significantly. Zhao Yun, who originally needed to save some energy to defend against Flood Dragon, no longer had any scruples. He could focus all of his attention on the demon soldiers around him. Under such circumstances, as a peerless general, he naturally had the upper hand. Thus, accompanied by a series of clanging sounds, Zhao Zilong spun his spear and unleashed his battle energy. He charged up and down, dodging left and right, killing his way in and out of the 100 or so demon soldiers. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the demon soldiers were dead or injured. Unexpectedly, the Flood Dragon was not afraid at all. Flood Dragon's aura around his body only took a breath to burn away all of his opponent's
So you weren't
serious just now. He snorted
this
coldly
moment,
and continued to attack
and Brother
as
Jew
if he had
complained in
entered
their
an
hearts.
unstoppable
Ha!
state. First Flood
Stop
Dragon
right
finished
there.
speaking and
At
squatted
that moment,
down in a
Shao
horse
Tan
stance.
roared and made his
In an
move.
instant,
No
demonic
matter the
energy
reason,
soared
result,
into the sky,
motive, or
and
logic
the wind
of this
and
battle.
clouds changed.
From Wang Tongji's
12
perspective,
regrets and Zhao Yun
everything
were
started
startled
because
when they
of
saw
him.
this.
Even
Their
if he wasn't
instincts
strong
as warriors
enough,
made them
he
feel
couldn't
a
just
strong
stand
sense
by
of
and
threat.
watch.
Is
Therefore,
he going to turn
he decisively
into
used
Super
a
Saiyan
consumable
3?
skill in
Feng
a place
Bujue
that
has
had
nothing
almost
to do with the main
this
quest,
NPC villain.
Binding Teeth.
Should
The
I
last
consider
time I
hiding
used
further
this
away
skill,
so that I
it was
won't be
during the
caught in the
semifinals
crossfire?
of the tournament for the
A
best
few
S1.
seconds later,
I'm
Lord
sure all
Jiao
of you have
roared,
forgotten
and the
about
demonic
its effect,
aura exploded.
so I'll post the
Then,
special
a
effect
faint
again.
black light covered
Use your
his entire
palms to
body.
create a gigantic
Fearless
Fong-like
awakening,
attack,
a
binding
state
the
that
target
can only
to a
be
flat
entered
surface
after
closest
obtaining
to
the
you.
awakening seal.
With a
in
roar,
Peerless,
he
in the
used
Three
all
Kingdoms
his strength.
4.
As
After
300
using it,
stamina
the player's
points were
attack,
deducted,
defense,
a Fong-like
attack speed,
energy
and
flew
other
out.
abilities will
This skill
increase.
could only be
In the
used
awakening
twice.
state,
As
the
for
player
the second
can use
time,
Peerless skills
Shao
limitlessly.
Tan didn't use it.
Feng Bujue
Now,
immediately
he finally
said
found
the name
a
of
very
this
suitable
move.
opportunity
A small
to use
character
it.
like One
Huh.
Death has
This
Peerless
time,
Awakening.
Flood Dragon was
Serious
shocked.
Peerless
He didn't
chaotic
expect
stance.
that. After
Shao
entering
Tan,
the
who
awakened
was dressed
state,
as an assassin,
Flood Dragon
could
didn't
use
hold back and
long-range
attacked.
magic.
12
Caught
regret.
off guard,
Not
he was
good.
hit in the chest
12
by the
regrets
power
said
of
this
binding
because
teeth.
he realized
His body
that the
was
awakened
fixed on
Flood
the spot,
Dragon
and he
couldn't
couldn't
move
faster
for a
than
while.
him.
It
This
would be
is my
very
chance.
difficult for him to
Shao
dodge
Tan
this
was
attack,
not
however.
familiar with
This
Thunderbolt.
did not mean
He
that
didn't
12
know how to
regrets was
call
helpless.
Sword King 12
Even
regrets.
if it was difficult
So
to
he
face him
directly
head-on,
omitted the name.
he still
and
had
called
many
Sword
ways
King
to
12
neutralize
regrets.
his opponent's
Thank
attack.
you, little brother.
Ha!
Sword
King
Lord
didn't
Danwen
say
shouted
much
in
and
front of
used
the
the
strong
strong
enemy.
step.
When
His
he
body
responded
moved quickly.
he had
and
already
used the
used
heavenly
his ultimate
rise
skill.
to take the initiative,
Autumn
causing
wind
the Flood
leaves.
Dragon's movement
The
to
sword
slow
moved
down.
with the shadow.
This back and forth,
Sword King
every
used
move,
all his
every
skills,
move seemed
and the
to
tip
be
of
at
the
his
sword was
fingertips,
pointed
but
at
in
Flood
reality,
Dragon's weak
it was a
spot.
truly
You're
superb
too
technique.
naive. If it
Flood
wasn't for a
Dragon
sword
roared again.
expert who
I'm
had
in the
experienced
Peerless
hundreds
Awakening
of
state.
battles,
Something
it would be
like
impossible for him
immobilization
to be
is
so sharp
useless
and appropriate.
That's right. Petty tricks.
He can use the Musu Flurry dance again at any time to break free from the petrification.
Feng Bujue, who was far away, was the first to react. But Sword King, who was charging at Flood Dragon, couldn't stop in time. Ping! The spiritual sword flew, and the spear moved in a line. When the two figures crossed, Sword King knew that something bad was going to happen. He instantly changed his style. In the extreme state, he waved his hands and opened a protective sword net. However, the Flood Dragon in the state of Peerless Awakening was much faster and more destructive than before. After the two weapons clashed, although the Sword Monarch still had his two swords in his hands, his arms had been shaken to the point that they temporarily lost feeling. Humph! Go to hell! Seeing that the situation was settled, the Flood Dragon said proudly. He twisted his body and stabbed back, aiming for the Sword Monarch's back with a back thrust. Oh no! Oh no! At this moment, this thought flashed through the minds of Sword Sovereign and Shao Tan. To Sword Monarch, the result of this attack might mean his defeat or even death. But to Shao Tan, the result of this attack might mean that he had killed a friendly NPC out of kindness. Fortunately, in the blink of an eye, the situation of the battle changed again. See, a figure shot out like a stream of light, blocking the Flood Dragon's spear. Pung pung. After two sounds of metal colliding, the Flood Dragon was actually forced back half a step, and the spear in his hand was also deflected a little. It's you. Flood Dragon's expression changed slightly when he saw who it was. It's you. Feng Bujue's expression changed drastically. Brother Ju did recognize this character, but he really didn't know that this guy's battle prowess was so astonishing. Deng 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 wait. Deng 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 wait. Deng 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 wait. Deng deng. A burst of flamboyant background music came from the sky and into the ears of everyone present. Who is this? Shao Tan was shocked again. He actually used his fist to deflect the Flood Dragon's spear? And he even came with his own background music? Surprised, he had already turned his gaze to the figure. It was a very young man, who looked at most 20 years old. He was born with thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a wide chin. His hairstyle was short and black, and he wore an earring on each ear. In terms of clothing, this person was wearing a white t-shirt with many blue pentagram patterns printed on the front. Outside the t-shirt there was a red and blue sleeveless coat, which was long like a cloak. He wore a pair of golden metal shoulder guards on his shoulders, and there were spikes on the shoulder guards. He wore white fingerless gloves on his hands, a pair of high boots on his feet, and white bandages wrapped around his bicep. Ding 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 wait. Ding 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 wait. Ding 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 wait. Ding ding ding. The background music still didn't stop. This person in front of the enemy closed his eyes as if nothing had happened, and struck a pose that would only be used in a bodybuilding competition. Everyone, don't be afraid. I'm here, Your Excellency is. At this time, Zhao Yun had already cleared the demon soldiers on the side and trotted over. When he saw the person, he showed a puzzled expression. It seemed that even he had never seen this character before. Me! The person still had his eyes closed, and he looked like he was asking for a beating. Don't ask for my name. As he spoke, he changed his pose again. His legs were slightly apart and he stood upright. He crossed his arms over his chest and said, I am Yun, the white and flawless Yun. Ladian is my relative, F*ck me. Wang Tongji was about to lose his mind. Which mental hospital did he escape from this time? What the hell is wrong with this script? Why does this handsome and strong guy need this chunibu to save the scene? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.